Check, check. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for another logical analysis. And make sure, if you like the content, subscribe, follow, all the good stuff. But Cenk Uygur gonna be here this time, debating against 20 Republicans and Democrats. He took on two different groups at once. Get even props for that. I'm actually kind of neutral on Cenk. I mean, I think he's funny. Obviously, I'm not like super left wing, so like not necessarily a fan. But you know, he's an entertaining character at the very least. So this should be somewhat entertaining. But you know, I mean, I got a glimpse of this little like first little clip they played at the beginning earlier, and I actually had high hopes for Cenk because I'm sure he's gonna try to make some good arguments. But after what I saw in some of this like first little clip, I was like, oh, I'm not sure. But it's, you know, the clip is very rarely, if ever, a good way to gauge what happened in these Jubilee debates. That's why we like to break it down with a little logical analysis. I don't know how many fact checks are going to be on this one. You know, maybe hopefully we don't have to deal with too many of those because I'm tired. But this has been out for a while, and I wanted to do this sooner. So I'm going to knock at least, you know, a good portion of this out today. Oh, man, it's long. Dude, these things are long. Gotta try to, I try to be quick with them. So we're going to get started here real soon. Let's make sure our audio is working correctly.
We've tried establishment Democrats, complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried.
All right, so sounds like it's working. No, this is not a show. So let's see here. I think we're good. If the video window looks fucked up, then that's on me. But like also blame Jubilee for, I feel like they shot this one different. I had to change some shit to match whatever they're doing here. All right. So let's see what Cenk has to say.
Tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism. And you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Are you crazy?
You can't vote Democrat and then say that, well, because they still support the rich and the rich still get all the tax cuts, I'm still going to cast my vote, which is the most powerful political weapon you have, to the very establishment that you're on one hand trying to tear down. That's just weird to mention.
I'm not sure if that was a Republican or a Democrat. Like these niggas, they look the same to me. So it's like when I see him, I'm like, wait, like, you know, he all dressed up and everything. I'm like, well, he could be a Republican, but like, I mean, them Democrats be looking like that too. They like to dress up for massa.
Guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company and fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up.
Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. Hi, I'm Cenk Uygur.
This is definitely going to be entertaining.
I'm host of the Young Turks live weekdays, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. I'm also the head of the TYT Network. I'm also founder of Just Democrats Wolfpack and Rebellion Pack, where we're trying to bring the country together. And here I am surrounded by 20 Democrats and Republicans, and I'm going to try to bring them together. Claim number one is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues and try to divide us and distract us with culture wars.
Yo, I might be rocking with Cenk on this one. I mean, like, is this not what they do? Like, I don't know if you see them as like honest people, then you might disagree, but like Cenk is Cenk is pretty on point right now. Like,
How are you, Cenk? Good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
My name's Oliver.
Hey, Oliver.
Yeah. So I guess the first place I want to start off with your claim is to first say that I think there's a grain of truth in it, and I think I would largely agree that when it comes to the system of neoliberalism, the system of capitalism, I think there can be a lot of overlap. I think where I would probably push back a little bit is when we look specifically at what policy issues get passed and how they affect people, there seems to be a very big difference. So for example, under the Biden administration,
this could be a solid argument. Let's see what he has to say.
we saw with the expansion of the Affordable Care Act and Medicaid, we saw over 8 million people become eligible for Medicaid who were previously not eligible. If we contrast that right now with what's in Trump's big, beautiful bill, over a 10-year period, that would make between 15 and 16 million people ineligible for Medicaid. So it seems on a crucial economic issue that affects people's ability to, survive, have quality health care, live quality lives. There seems to be a stark contrast. So I'm just wondering your thoughts on that.
So where I would disagree is the word stark. So I understand there is a contrast. That's why I vote Democrat.
Mm-hmm.
Stark. I mean, so basically the reason this guy has a pretty good argument is because he kind of like granted that like most of what he was saying is true. But he wants to get into the specifics of like how they differ exactly. So he's not even getting on the like divide and distract part. He doesn't care about that part right now. He's arguing about like whether or not their policies have the same economic impact, and I guess why they're picking these policies or something like that. But let's see what Cenk is saying about like the why it's not a stark difference.
But these are giant buts here. So first of all, they say on Medicare, we should negotiate drug prices. The Democrats say, and then they never deliver. They didn't even try to negotiate drug prices other than on insulin and maybe 10 other drugs. And you go, well, that's pretty good. No, that's 10 drugs out of tens of thousands of drugs. At a maximum, it's only a $6 billion savings, when in reality, what we actually would do if we negotiated the drug prices is several $100 billion in savings. So
I'm gonna do a little fact check real quick because Jubilee didn't do one, but like if we could just ask the Google demons real quick. Like I want to know how many of these drugs that Democrats have bought like prices down on. I'm pretty sure this is what they're talking about right now. If that's not what Cenk just said, like let me back it up a little bit.
Deliver. They didn't even try to negotiate drug prices other than on insulin and maybe 10 other drugs. And you go, well, that's pretty good. No, that's 10 drugs out of tens of thousands of drugs. At a maximum, it's only a $6 billion savings, when in reality, what we actually would do if we negotiated the drug prices is several $100 billion.
Probably gonna speed this up more as we go along because we got to get through this.
Dollars in savings. So what I'm saying to you is, while the Democrats,
but I do want to check here, like how many. Let's just see how many drug prices Democrats have negotiated down. I think it's around like I guess it's around 15. He's not really entirely wrong because there's like they've negotiated like 15 to 20, and that's just with like recent policies. Uh, yeah, 15 is not that much more. I'm gonna give it to him. He's right. The Democrats haven't really negotiated much of these prices down. So and they plan on doing more, I guess, till like 2028 or something. But yeah, it's a good point he's making right now. I don't know about the numbers as far as like how much money they're saving or not. Like I don't really care about that. Um, but his basic claim holds up.
Do some things that are positive, they do it almost as a release valve. So they go, okay, here's another example that you mentioned.
Now, of course, we can't like measure intent here. Like we can, if we're being strictly logical, we don't necessarily know why they're doing that. That could just be a result of them like, negotiating. But let's see why he thinks this is the case and
The Affordable Care Act.
Uniparty.
You know what it was called before it was called Obamacare?
You can enlighten me.
Yeah.
Oh, the Romney. It was a plan that was tried in a Republican state.
Exactly. It was called Romney Care.
Yeah.
And you know who came out with it?
Okay.
Heritage Foundation, the
Sure.
same people who came out with Project 2025.
Okay.
That is a corporate release valve so that people don't build up too much pressure and go to a rebellion or a revolution. But in the bottom line is that was a tiny, tiny little fix thought of by a right-wing think tank. And then now when you say to negotiate drug prices, Obama never did it, even though he ran an ad called Belly where he said he was going to do it. Biden does at most 6.
So the Democrats, he's basically saying like the Democrats end up doing like what the Republicans do because it's being thought up by right-wing think tanks even like, I mean, he's not wrong. he's not wrong at all here. So I mean, even Jubilee dropped a little fact check there about Obama having like some key similarities to the Romney care, but whatever. We'll give that point to Cenk. Again, he's got another point.
6% of it. The Democrats are constantly doing 5 to 10% as a little release valve,
yeah.
but keep the machine going exactly as it is.
And we can totally agree that there should be more that's done. I guess maybe I was taking your claim too literally, which is that Democrats and Republicans agree on economic issues. And maybe you
Yes,
qualify in there. Is it largely agree? Is it mainly agree? Is
it's definitely large. Yeah,
okay.
It's not 100% agree.
Sure.
Otherwise, it would be too obvious.
Sure.
But is it true that
I mean, yeah, like 100% agreement is like impossible. Like they're all gonna have some differences, but like, do they really differ that much? I'd have to be on Cenk's side here. Like there's not really much of a difference.
they largely agree? Of course. So
Yeah.
I'll give you many other examples.
Okay.
Paid family leaves at 84%. Yet
Yes.
the Democrats never seem to be able to pass it. Why do they never pass it? Because they're not trying. They said they'd do the public option. Joe Biden didn't even announce them, introduce the public option.
I
Why? Because they agree with Republicans.
Well, I don't think they agree with Republicans necessarily. I just think that sometimes it's hard to pass legislation in a bitterly divided Congress. Would you acknowledge that it's difficult very often in order to get things done? You don't.
No,
think
see, that is
so.
the number.
No, I mean the guy is making a good point. Like if you're gonna be good faith to these politicians, like you don't have to be, but for the sake of logic, like it's just assume they were honest people. It is gonna be hard to negotiate still. Whether or not you go in there with your lofty ideals and manage to get enough people on your side, that's really what it comes down to. I think as long as like everybody in there isn't just walking in there and then it's just like complete mask off. They're in complete agreement, like some little secret cult. I don't think that's what's going on either. I think it's somewhere like in the middle. There are a lot of people I think that actually get in there, think they can like make some change happen, and then they realize it's a whole nother ball game. It's a different animal.
Number one excuse Democrats use.
Okay.
Oh, golly gee, there was nothing we could do. And they're saying, no, there was nothing we could do. There was nothing we could do.
Okay.
In reality, he didn't even try for the public option, Biden. He didn't introduce it. So that pulls it over 70%. Why not try?
Sure.
$15 minimum wage. The Republicans didn't take that out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the bill. You see those things where you can tell intent. And the intent is he actually agrees with the donor class and the Republicans. He doesn't want those things. If you can't pass a bill at 84%, then are you saying the Democrats are the most incompetent politicians in history?
I'm not saying they're the most incompetent party, and I'm also not saying they're perfect. I think that we risk running into an issue where we equate the two parties as being virtually the same, which leads people to not voting.
I mean, he's making a good point, but why can't we do that? Is probably a better argument he should be making right now. Like how exactly they're really like two different parties.
Voting whatsoever at all, because they think the whole class is.
But he got to wrap it up soon, so he's just trying to get his shit off.
against them. And I'm in complete agreement with you that the two-party system is fundamentally broken and that Democrats in a lot of ways have a lot of the same issues. I guess what I predominantly have an issue with is those who maybe don't take the time to have nuance in the discussion and just say, oh, they agree on economic issues and they only want to divide us on cultural issues.
Yeah, but brother, so here's the difference.
It's important to make that, because otherwise people stay home. They don't vote, and then we're in the situation that we're in right now when a lot of people don't end up voting.
No, but Oliver, so let me...
Is this guy like a Democrat or Republican? He's giving me Democrat energy. So if this is a Republican, I mean, I'm sorry, I guess. This is like, he's not a politician, but he's low-key proving Cenk's point, because it's actually like you could hear this argument coming from anybody on both sides. Like, this is actually hilarious.
Let me tell you my perspective on it. That's really important.
Okay.
So Democrats always say, hey, look, there's a 5 to 10% difference, so you should vote for us.
Okay.
But they don't quite say it that way. You understand that. I understand that.
Sure.
A lot of people here understand that. But
Marketing is a thing. I mean,
right. But
but
hold on. This is super important.
Okay.
But they tell the voters, we're going to make a big difference. We're going to do minimum wage. We're going to do public option. We're going to do paid family leave. And when they don't, people get disappointed and disappointed. And that leads them to not voting.
Isn't that how you do this politics thing, though?
That leads them to hating the Democratic Party.
Sure.
What I'm saying is go with populist left. That is the one thing that has not been tried.
Sure.
We would actually do the bills. We do the bills. Otherwise, then you're the same as the
Okay,
Republicans.
fair enough. All right, thank you very much.
Populist left. Like, what is populist left? Like, I mean, I hate to bring up the C word, but like, what exactly would a populist left look like? Like, it's gonna be some form of socialism or something. Like, I mean, it's not necessarily even gonna be much different. That's the funny thing. But that's why him saying that it hasn't been tried yet is like, I mean, like, if you mean actual populism, I don't know if we're ever gonna get that. So like, trying it is like a whole nother thing. And supposedly we've tried like populist rightism or whatever. I'm assuming he's saying that that's Trump. I mean, he could probably argue with some other people like Reagan or something like that too. But I'm not sure. We'll see what else he has to say.
Thank you, Oliver.
Hey, Cenk. Great to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Great to be speaking with you. I agree with your overall term here. I would say that at the end goal, they agree that economically, we all want the same things, right? But the way we get it is two completely different economical viewpoints. We have the left that tends to be more...
This is a solid point. I mean, there's some merit to that. Like, whether you're being good faith or not, like,
socialist and communist, then we have the right that is more crony capitalist.
Okay.
The left wants to take your taxes and they want to distribute it the way they want.
Yeah.
The right wants you to keep your taxes right now. They want you to keep your overtime taxes. They want you to keep your taxes on tips. So what is your...
Yeah, so first of all, brother, you got to stop saying socialism and communism. None of the
Why is that?
Because none of the Democratic politicians are in favor of that. They're actually...
They are. Bernie's quite literally
Yeah,
socialist.
No. So he says he's Democratic socialist. Even he doesn't really go towards what you would consider socialism, because you're putting socialism and communism in the same bucket where they don't belong. None of them are in favor of ending corporations, ending capital, etc.
I mean, I see, like, I was with Cenk until he said none of them. I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that none of them have any of these crazy ideas. I think a lot of them that would have them are not going to tell you. You got to like look at their voting record and their other background, other connections. But yeah, there's no way to really know that. So I would just stay away from saying shit like that. But like, I mean, yeah, sure. He's not entirely wrong. It's just he went a little too far.
In fact, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, their number one problem is that they're corporatists, not that they're socialists or communists.
No, they will do
whatever corporate donors tell them to do.
I mean, they're all... I feel like all of them are going to be corporatists to some degree. Like, do you have any like politician that doesn't have like some corporation backing them or some corporation that they're supporting? Like, I mean, it's
to
That is
end
the exact
businesses over
opposite of
vaccine
communism.
mandates.
Yeah,
That was,
no, brother.
Yeah, no.
but that's drug companies. They're doing the exact opposite of communism. They're saying corporate donors, we will do whatever you corporations want. So when you turn to the Republicans, it's the same thing as Oliver. They have 5 to 10% release value with Donald Trump now. He's pretending to be a populist. So he goes, oh my God.
Donald Trump isn't
even
pretending, he is a populist.
Well, look at
He just won the popular vote, both left and right, moved in his direction.
No, hold on. So when you talk about that bill, the budget bill, that is not big or beautiful. Well, it is big, but it's definitely not beautiful.
Sure.
The majority of the tax cuts go, of course, as always, to the rich, right? But they put in a tiny release valve of, we'll help the middle class a little bit on tips and overtime. Whether that even stays in the bill is a different question.
How come every
but what
time
are they doing here? Let me tell you.
I mean, it's some. I guess it's still some stuff they can agree on, in public. But I mean, obviously, I don't think we're ever gonna actually get any type of argument out of any of them to actually explain how we know that they are all trying to get the same thing. I think that's just why most of these guys are arguing against it and trying to just argue the different results of what they do. But they're agreeing for the most part, because I mean, it's kind of hard to argue against it when they seem to actually come to a compromise on a lot of this shit, even when they say a lot of other shit out to the voter and all these influencers and everything. It's always a different story when it actually unfolds in Congress. So it makes you wonder, are they really fighting so much, or is it a different scene behind closed doors?
Fact.
I make more money than I spend less on taxes.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you a fact. So what they do is they throw a little morsel at you, as Obama and Biden throw a little morsel on you for social policies, as we discussed earlier. But the overwhelming majority always goes to the rich. For example, in this bill, they're cutting Medicaid and SNAP by $1.1 trillion. Do you know how much is going to people making above $500,000 a year in tax cuts? $1.1 trillion. Okay, so they're literally taking from the poorest people and giving it to the richest people,
which is what the liberals have been doing forever. So what's the difference?
How are they doing? So no, brother, what I'm
Cenk is not the one arguing that there's a difference. Isn't he arguing that isn't that the opposite of what he's arguing? He said they agree. So I mean, he's kind of making his argument for him, isn't he? Did I miss something?
I'm saying is you're actually proving my point. Democrats and Republicans constantly say that they have giant differences. Then what did the Republicans do? They do massive tax cuts for the rich. And then Obama, by the way, came in and actually made Bush's tax cuts permanent, which cost us even more than the original Bush tax cuts did. So there's a lot of theater about how they disagree. But at the end of the day, the rich always get tax cuts.
I'm not gonna fact check all those tax cuts. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's correct about all that. I mean, I would be sitting here fact checking all day if I was to address all of that. But I mean, the general argument that Cenk is making here is not incorrect. Like I said, the guy kind of just made his point.
More money when Republicans are in office. Why do me as a business owner continue to save money?
So you know why? So I'm a small business owner. So we save a little bit of money. The giant corporations save a ton of money.
Isn't it better if everybody saves money?
No, it's not.
Why not? That makes no sense.
No, brother, it's easy.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. It is better when everybody saves more money. I mean, even, let's just say theoretically, what they're saying is true, right? If when one party is in office, only the big major corporations are saving money, but in another party's run, big corporations and small businesses are flourishing, then I mean, if they're all saving money in the other scenario, that is probably the one you'd want. I mean, that's probably the most basic thing you could look at and be like, oh, well, I mean, at least I'm getting something in this equation if I start a little small business of my own, right? Why it's so I don't know why. I mean, we'll have to see what his reasoning is, I guess.
Easy to say, okay, then we shouldn't have any roads, bridges, cops, fire departments.
Nobody's
schools.
saying that. We just don't want our money going to foreign.
We shouldn't have any taxes.
We just don't want our money going to foreign countries.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
On drag events.
And by the way, that's another thing that proves my point. Republicans and Democrats always do whatever AIPAC tells them. So that is a foreign.
I don't know how we got here, but they about to vote him off anyway. So this is going nowhere. But I don't like he's arguing against the point, but he like kind of argued his point. Like I don't think he realizes that.
That's a whole different argument.
No, it's not an
I would
argument. It's the
agree.
same argument. It's a donor class.
Thank you, Cenk.
Yeah.
Hey man, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So when you talk about this concept of like a release valve, it seems like you're downplaying very relevant and very important differences that exist between the parties. So the Affordable Care Act, you understand that it expanded coverage to like millions of people. More people got Medicaid, premiums were subsidized. Like this is.
So he's arguing there like some relevant differences.
Good policy. And I agree with you. Sometimes, in many cases, Democrats lack a spine. They don't push hard enough. But I think chalking that up to like, they're pretty much the same, there's just a little release valve difference is a little bit reductive.
Yeah, it's not at all reductive, and the Affordable Care Act is a perfect example of it. So you're right. It was better than
Okay, Cenk.
previous system, because the previous system had pre-existing conditions and you can get blocked for that, and the American people despise that. So it needed to be changed. Yeah. That is part of the reason why a right-wing think tank, Heritage Foundation, came up with Romney Care. It's a release valve, and it's a Republican idea. Then Mitt Romney took it and passed it in Massachusetts. That's why it's called Romney Care. Then Obama and Romney ran a campaign where they pretended to be on exact opposite ends of the spectrum with the same exact healthcare plan. Literally.
I mean, Cenk, I can't really say he's wrong here.
The same exact healthcare plan.
Do you think the ACA is like a right-wing health insurance plan?
It was literally created by a right-wing
like
think tank,
the
Heritage
Republicans right now in
Foundation.
Congress are trying to push a reconciliation bill that literally guts Medicaid when the ACA expanded Medicaid.
Yes. So they always move the goalposts. So what do? They bring in, okay, here's our release valve. Okay, now the American people are still mad. Of course they are, because, and here, let's talk about the next steps that happened. Obama said, oh yeah, we might do the public option, which would have been not universal health care, but a good step forward. Right. I was there. Young Turk's been around forever. And I was like, yes, you got to do the public option. Then Obama says publicly, oh, I guess we can't do the public option. Wink.
Well,
and they immediately.
I mean, wink. I mean, sure. You can imagine the wink there if you want to. He might be right here. Like I can't say that like what he's argued is necessarily like even fallacious necessarily. It's just I doubt he's gonna provide us any evidence of like what's really going on behind closed doors. Like a lot of it is probably gonna be conjecture, but I can't say that it's necessarily illogical to think.
He took it out of the bill.
Right?
What's that?
That's because of Joe Lieberman, right? But
59
other Democrats would have voted for the public option.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. So that they always, they always have an excuse. So right now, under Biden, the excuse was, oh, we don't have enough senators. Oh, golly gee.
That's how you pass laws,
though. I mean, like, it's funny. He's right. It's quite a coincidence.
The filibuster and the parliament.
But it's about specific things. Like, there are a lot of things that they don't really have much of a problem passing at all. I mean, those are the things that you really need to focus on.
Parliamentarian, and then under Obama they had 60. They could pass anything they wanted. They're like, let's take a really, really long time with Romney Care. Oh, oops, we ran out of our 60. Things changed. Okay, now the Republicans are ignoring the parliamentarian when they're trying to pass this bill. So the Democrats keep finding excuses. Why did they take the public option?
It you can't really act like it doesn't look like political theater. And if it's like, you know, it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
Option out of the bill.
You think
why
Obama
did they
didn't
never
want the
introduce
public
the public option back again? I don't think the Democrats want the public option at all.
When 59 senators said we'll vote yes on this, and Lieberman
That's what I'm
that.
trying to tell you, brother. They don't mean it. So let me give you two examples.
Where are you getting that from?
Where am I getting it from?
If
Joe,
Lieberman
where am I
agreed, would
getting
we
it
not have
from?
gotten the
Number
public
one,
option?
the public option polls at over 70%. They didn't even try to pass it.
Sure, but
Number two, when
policy,
Biden came into office, said he was going to do public option,
Yeah.
and then he lied, and he never once introduced
Biden had, like, no
if he never
political
once
capital
introduced
compared to Obama.
Oh, now they don't have political capital. Golly gee,
These are the
constant
realities
excuses
of how
for,
you pass
oh my God,
legislation,
I can't. The voters
It's
are
not I
sick
can't.
of I can't.
It's not
Why
I
don't you
can't.
actually
It's more-
try?
it's more
So tell me
difficult.
why they're such losers. They
It's
can't
more-
pass paid family leave at
Listen,
84%.
I
Are they
agree with you
losers,
on
or do they
policy.
actually secretly agree with the Republicans
Cenk.
and they don't want any of this because they're corporate donors?
I agree with you on policy.
Like, Cenk just talked over him. I'm not gonna lie. But what he's saying isn't necessarily wrong. Like, I mean, he does have evidence that it does in fact look like, walk like, and quack like a duck. But is it a duck? That's the question. And how do you know it's a duck?
Policy. I want paid family leave. I want single payer health care. But this is not like super easy to pass. You're like, if they just all
Yes,
hold
it
their
is.
hand and
I
say,
can get it passed in 2 weeks.
we're gonna get like
2
single
weeks.
payer.
Okay, so here's how you do it, guys. You see, you've been taught by mainstream media and Democratic politicians to accept failure. Oh my God, there's nothing we can do to pass it. There's nothing. Here's how you
No,
what you
you
do.
can pass it,
Here's
but it's
super
difficult.
easy.
It's not
listen,
easy.
listen. Paid family leave is at 84. Why do I
Cenk has some great rhetoric.
keep insisting on that? Because here's what you would do. You would introduce it, 74% of Republican voters want it. And then you would say, I dare you to vote against it. If you vote against it, you're voting against 84% of Americans and you will lose your next
They're for
election.
it
I will
nominally.
campaign against you. I will find a Republican.
I mean, I don't know how realistic this is, but hey.
Campaign against you,
No.
and then but you say no, God, don't
no.
even try. Don't
These-
even
these
try.
policies-
Oh, we have these giant
hold on,
differences, but we never pass our bills.
say
We never even
Republicans-
try.
hold on.
And who took out $15 minimum wage? Joe Biden took out $15 minimum wage. So they never
say-
meet it, brother. When is it going to get through to you
Hold on.
that they don't
you
pass
say
it
that
for a
Republicans
reason?
agree with us. They agree nominally. I'll give you a great example of this. If you poll Republicans, should we cut Medicaid? They say no. When Medicaid's actually cut and you poll them, they're just cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. So like nominally, yes, everyone agrees universal
No,
health
no,
care is
no.
good. When you get into the nitty gritty of actual policy, it gets a lot more complicated. I agree. Democrats should fight much harder, use the bully pulpit, campaign on these issues.
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of the opposite. I think when you get into the nit and gritty of all the policy, it's like it actually is a lot less complicated. But that's just me.
But the idea that they're willfully, purposefully sabotaging themselves, some of them sure, but this is not as easy as you're painting it out to be.
Okay, so number one,
So I mean, he is arguing that like he's taking the good faith approach where he's like, Cenk, you claim that they agree on economic issues, so you have to actually like demonstrate it to me. And if you can't really demonstrate it to me, how you know they agree, right? Rather than all of this like kind of like, you know, evidence that could be chalked up to compromise and just it being hard to compromise. Is like he's saying it's more logical to believe, if we're trusting them, trusting the politicians, that it's just difficult to come to a conclusion on these things, you know. And they don't, and they're not all in agreement just because they have to come to compromises on important issues.
on minimum wage, we at the Young Turks fought for Bernie to put it back in and at least get a vote. Okay, it got a vote. And guess what happened? The 8 Democratic senators who were pretending to be in favor of it all of a sudden voted with the Republicans. They had more than enough to block it because the Democrats don't mean it. They always do rotating villains. So, brother.
So he might be telling the truth here. I don't know how he can determine for sure exactly why they ended up voting with the Republicans, but I'm sure he's probably not exaggerating when he says that they pretended that they were in support of it and then ended up voting on the Republican side. I could definitely see politicians doing that. Politicians do that all the time. They'll vote along the other side's aisle or vote along with the other side of the aisle, is that what they say? Whatever that is. And they'll be saying something different in public. But I mean, do we know why? And that's pretty much what this guy is going to be arguing. It's like, can you say for sure that it's because they just agree?
At what point are you going to say the failure is on purpose and not, golly gee, they're the Washington Generals against the Harlem Globetrotters?
When you have slim majorities, paradigm shifting policies just harder to pass.
But 60 is not.
I mean, Cenk is making a good point here. It's like, at what point will you just say, like, this isn't just a coincidence, right? They agree, and they're just kind of acting like they don't in public, right? Like what I just said, like they will quite literally vote a different way in Congress and in public be telling you a completely different story. And, you know, does it just come down to some negotiation in Congress, or is it them just blatantly lying to you?
Not a slim majority. You constantly
didn't
make
have 60.
excuses.
The
Obama had
$15
60,
minimum
and he
wage.
still didn't do it. If they could have 80, and you'd still find an
the ACA
excuse.
was massive legislation that he got with 60.
Yes,
60
beautiful
votes.
Romney Care from Heritage Foundation.
Nice meeting you, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
How are you?
Hey there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you raised a
Look at this nigga all suited and booted. Let's see if we can guess whether he's a Democrat or a Republican. Because you never know.
very interesting point when you say that Democrats and Republicans agree essentially on the same issues and that they want to distract us with culture wars. The question that I would raise is, why are culture wars a distraction when they're such a vital issue? It's important to myself as a conservative, and I'm quite certain to every Democrat in this room. Issues like
Oh, he's a conservative. So he told us. All right. Yeah, I mean, you know they're gonna tell you. But okay, so I mean, that was my first thought. I don't know if that was anybody else's first thought. That is what I thought. They tend to like the suits a little bit more. You know, Democrats. You know, they tend to surprise you sometimes. Like if a Democrat showed up on a show like this, you know, they probably look like the rest of the other Democrats. You know, but you know, a lot of especially the conservative Negroes, they like to get all suited and booted for these events.
like abortion, social justice, or things that affect us in ways that maybe some policies only benefit the rich. Why should we not focus on things that benefit Americans every day and that can affect women's bodies or gay people's right to get married or maintain the right?
Yeah. So I'm not saying that social issues.
So he basically just agreed with him for the most part. But he said, why are culture wars a problem? Why do culture wars have to be a distraction? That's what so he's actually granting the
Are not important.
He's granting the idea that Democrats and Republicans agree on everything. But he's saying but why does it have to be divide and distract with the culture wars? And when I say he's granting it, I mean he's like really granting it, because I doubt he would actually agree on it. I assume he's a Republican for a reason. But he's definitely not going to argue about the other thing. He wants to argue more about like why these culture wars are a problem. And this is the funny thing. Like, you know, he brought up the gay marriage and shit or whatever. So let's see where this goes. Are they going to argue about the culture war now?
That's why I vote Democrat instead of Republican, because I believe women should have the right to an abortion and many of the other things that are on the left. Okay. But at the same time, when you talk about transports, for example,
So Cenk saying he's with the left on the culture wars. And I agree that he's agreeing that there's some level of importance to whatever the culture war issues are.
you know how many trans athletes there are in the NCAAs?
No, I don't.
10 out of 500,000 athletes. Okay. So for 10 people, we had this giant debate, and the far right were like, no, that's it. This is what the Democratic Party is all about. And the far left was like, yes, that is all we're about. And this is about vulnerable communities, and you have to protect them. So this is the hill we're going to die on. And we're going to talk about this nonstop, okay? But meanwhile, we're getting robbed every single administration. Trillions of dollars in tax cuts under Republicans and under Obama. Tax cut after tax cut for rich, for the corporations, deregulation after deregulation. You know why they want to split us? They want you to fight left and right.
I mean, he's not wrong. Like the claims he's making are generally true. So I'm not like, you know, stopping and like even like fact checking or whatever. Like these are generally true claims. From his perspective as a populist, like obviously, like, you know, they're getting away with robbery, like, but he's just very animated. So this is very entertaining for me. Like a lot of these motherfuckers just be no energy. At least Cenk has energy.
Right. They want you to look left and right.
And they do. He's right. Like, why would they be doing it if they didn't want you to?
They don't want you to look up. Look up. Okay.
Well, of course, having to look up is very vital. Okay, my master always tells us to look up. That's why I wear the cross. But the point that I'm making is that
What? Wait, did he say my master?
And the far right were like, no, that's it. This is what the Democratic Party is all about. And the far left was like, yes, that is all we're about. And this is about vulnerable communities, and you have to protect them. So this is the hill we're going to die on. And we're going to talk about this nonstop, okay? But meanwhile, we're getting robbed every single administration. Trillions of dollars in tax cuts under Republicans and under Obama. Tax cut after tax cut for rich, for the corporations, deregulation after deregulation. You know why they want to split us? They want you to fight left and right. They want you to look left and right. They don't want you to look up. Look up. Okay.
Well, of course, having to look up is very vital. Okay, my master always tells us to look up. That's why we're the cross. But the point that I'm
He said my master. I bet I had to go back through all of that. I'm not gonna play with this fucking cursor right now. But he just said my master. No, I mean, I guess he called himself a Christian. I'm assuming he's talking about Jesus. That's just a bad look, man. I'm not gonna lie. Nigga said my master. Yeah, my master tells me. Yeah.
I'm making
Master said, look up.
social issues. In order to really, wouldn't it make sense to effectively mobilize people? You should start with things that can touch them every single day. Social issues impact children, women, men, all of us across all ages and across all ideologies. Shouldn't it be for the American population, whose average attention span is maybe 43 to 56 seconds at best, to influence them politically? Wouldn't it be best to start with something like a social issue that would then raise their awareness to issues dealing with the rich and issues dealing with taxes? Why not?
Because that splits us.
So his argument is that maybe the culture war issues are to rope you in, to get you into all the other policy and stuff. Is that? I mean, he's not necessarily saying what Cenk is saying isn't true necessarily. Cenk is saying what he said isn't true. I mean, I would agree with him that that's probably what they're doing. Whether or not that's a good thing, because he's asserting that it's a good thing that they're using this to like get people more involved or whatever, and these are things that affect a lot of people, so they're still important. But I mean, I feel like it's an easier way to control people. Because it's kind of issues that you'll never really come to a full agreement on, as long as the politicians are divided on it. So it's got to be like a overwhelming majority in order to really, assuming that the system really works. It's got to be an overwhelming majority on a lot of those social issues, or one party has to have the majority and actually actually implement a policy that they talk about. But this is why, like, they rarely really ever do that. So, like, especially when it comes to, like, economic issues, which is what Cenk is really arguing here. The divide and distract thing, I mean, that is a little bit more conspiratorial. So, I mean, he's basically still kind of granting that, though, but he's also saying that, like, well, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like, even if, I guess, does he think it's not to divide and distract? He thinks it's only to get people into the party. I mean, like, I don't know why one can exist without the other. I mean, one can exist without the other, but like, I wouldn't be assuming that it just does. Like, I mean, if they're gonna plan to do something like to get more people into the party, I think that's gonna tie into, like, maybe even the distractions, like, because you're not focusing on like the stuff that they're really agreeing on and all the stuff that they're passing behind your back and inside of those little bills that they agree on. Even if it's the very few, they agree on a lot. They do agree on the overwhelming majority for the most part. Like, I mean,
It splits us on purpose. Those don't unify. I say the exact opposite. Why don't you start on bills we all agree on that have over 70% popularity, like getting money out of politics, anti-war, and lowering drug prices through Medicare? Instead, you get to social issues. Here, I'll give you, I'm from a vulnerable community. I'm from a Muslim background, right? But if I told Democrats, I want you to focus only on Muslim rights, that'd be mental. Don't do that. I'm not saying don't care about Muslim rights. I want you to care about that. I want everyone to have 100% same rights.
What I'm saying is, why not?
Muslim rights.
credibility by actually delivering for all of the American people. We raised all of your wages. We brought down drug prices for everyone, for Republicans and Democrats.
But by your logic, that could undermine certain things, like going back in history for a second here, the civil rights movement, things like that, which were inherently social and economic issues in combination. Why not? My question is, why not work with both of those issues side by side? Why are you deliberately attempting to prioritize one over the other?
No, so what I'm saying to you, brother, is two things. Number one, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. So you don't have to give up Muslim rights, you don't have to give up civil rights, you don't have to stop worrying about that, etc. You can fight on that, but don't forget, you're not supposed to hate the other side. They want you to hate the other side. Stop hating the other side. Fight on the issues you don't agree on. And then on the things you do agree on, stop listening to establishment Republicans and establishment Democrats that divide you so that you never realize, hey, why are most of the tax cuts going to the rich? Why are corporations getting every break? Why is it that in every bill, all the subsidies go to oil companies, banks, etc.?
Well, that's largely.
I mean, to be fair, if you were really thinking about this logically, you could very easily get to like they're going to have the same outcomes for the most part. Like that's the stuff they're agreeing on. But you could very easily get to like an agreement on a lot of these issues. It's just that like if people are still constantly going to be fighting about it, are they ever going to actually get the quote unquote votes for it? I mean, it's all going to be a theater at the end of the day. But Cenk is right. In a perfect world, I mean, they probably are going to agree on a lot of this stuff. But it's also nobody's paying attention on a lot of this other stuff that they are agreeing on. And a lot of the stuff that they're agreeing on, the average person isn't even thinking about as well.
So why don't we unite on the things we agree on first?
But by your own logic, that does a disservice to the fact that it doesn't do a disservice. It acknowledges the fact that as you still vote Democrat, you are still in essence supporting the very systems that you're at the same time talking about tearing down. So it's a lot of double talk, is it not?
No, what I do
you
is
can't vote Democrat.
I mean, he's right. It's like, I mean, I guess you could say like he could be a populist and like disagree with the fact that the Democrats are agreeing with the Republicans on most of the stuff, but he's still like, you know, he's actually one of the ones fueling like the culture war stuff that he claims is the distraction. So it's like, I mean, he's talking out of both sides. He definitely is talking out of both sides of his neck. I'm not gonna lie. Like, yeah, he's like, yes, bro's got him right here.
And then say that, well, because they still support the rich and the rich still get all the tax cuts, I'm still going to cast my vote, which is the most powerful political weapon you have, to the very establishment that you're on one hand trying to tear down. That's
why primaries.
That doesn't necessarily mean that Cenk is wrong, though, right? This would technically be an appeal to hypocrisy. Like, I mean, like, just because Cenk's a hypocrite doesn't mean his claim isn't correct.
Are critical. What if I want one thing for you guys all to think about is you must vote in your primaries, because the mainstream media doesn't want you voting in the primaries because that's where you can make real change. So that's why they love it when you go, oh, well, if you don't vote for a Democrat, Trump's going to be in office and Trump's the boogeyman, and the Republicans will say likewise, right? So go vote in your primaries so you don't have to worry about Democrats or Republicans. You're still in the same party, but get rid of the bums who are for corporate donors who always serve donors, and get people that you love on both economic issues and social issues. You don't have to give up one, but you have to insist on them representing you and not the donor class.
Very great conversation, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Conversation.
I mean, sure. I mean, I think Cenk's rhetoric here is very good. There's not a lot I could like really pick out and say, like, obviously I'm going to disagree with a lot of this, but just as far as his argument goes, if you're being good faith and you believe the system works as it is intended to work, or can work as it is intended to work, then you can you could say that pretty much everything Cenk said there is correct, assuming the system can work properly to our advantage. If the system working properly is to our advantage.
Hello.
Hey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm not going to disagree with you that in every case, Democrats don't go after the most radical economic policy. One example that I've
Not
heard-
radical. They all poll over 70%.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm a Democrat myself. I agree with a lot of what you say. One example of what you said before is that Joe Biden wanted to cut the corporate or raise the corporate income tax to 28% instead of back to 35%. However, I think that one point to consider would be the fact that a lot of the times Democrats are having to clean up the mess that Republicans made. And when someone like Joe Biden only has 2 years of adequate Senate support, right, it's very difficult to argue that he should be pursuing farther left tactics when we're just trying to get a reconciliation bill passed that can be supported by.
So his argument is that like Democrats be cleaning up after the Republicans. So no, we can't say that they like agree on everything, isn't? That's the only real argument I've heard so far. Like he basically kind of said he's a fan for a minute. Like he was like, you know, I'm a Democrat. I pretty much agree with you on everything. But this is where he chooses to nitpick, I guess.
By Joe Manchin, right? The economy was completely destroyed in 2020 after COVID. It was completely destroyed in 2007 after Obama. So there has to be a little give there.
So on economic issues, what I'm telling you, brother, is that they're playing good cop, bad cop. On you, on all of us. Okay?
Yeah, I mean, look, this is a good argument from Cenk. Like, I mean, of course, I'm a little biased, but bro, I mean, he's not gonna tell us how he knows they're playing good cop, bad cop. I already know he's not gonna have that coherent of an argument, but the argument itself does hold some merit. I mean, that is what it looks like. And again, you know, if it looks like a duck, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, one could be led to believe it is indeed a duck.
Okay, so the tax cuts is a perfect example. So you're right, Donald Trump takes it from 35 to 21. It's a massive corporate tax cut. That's on Trump, that's on the Republicans. Then Joe Biden says, well, I'm gonna fight that, and he gets a lot of votes to go fight that. And he says, I'm gonna bring it back up to 28%. I'm like, wait, it was at 35. So already he's conceding, yeah, I love corporate tax, corporate tax cuts. Yeah. Hold on. Then he says, oh, well, Joe Manchin wants to make it 25. So golly gee, I don't have a choice, 25. Then did he fight for 25? No, he never introduced it. Never fought for 25. So you tell me, Joe Biden had 4 years and kept it at 21% and never even tried.
Well, realistically, he had 2 years to get a bill passed. It's the truth. At the end of the day, right, if Joe Manchin sticks it somewhere and he says, well, okay, maybe I'll let you have an expansion of the child tax credit, for example, if you keep it at 20. We don't know all the backdoor negotiations that happened between Joe Biden and Joe Manchin. At the end of the day, right, you can't have everything you want, whether you're Joe Manchin or Joe Biden.
Did you ever consider?
I mean, if his argument is that, again, this is compromise, then I mean, sure, he's right. Like you know, you can't have everything you want. There's going to have to be some level of compromise and overlap. So like on the outside, it would look like they kind of just agree on these things, I guess.
That they don't mean it. The reason that Joe Biden never tried to raise corporate taxes is because he doesn't want.
Yeah, Cenk is arguing like, you know, they never meant it. They're just playing a game.
Corporate taxes to go up.
They're lying to you.
It was all a trick. It was all a game played on all of us.
No, I don't buy it.
No, I know. There was nothing they could do. That's why they didn't even bother trying. They never bothered trying on any of this. And you keep insisting,
look.
well, good enough. I'll take my 5% change. Thank you, sir. May I have another, sir? So please, for God's sake, wake up and unite to actually get economic policies that we love. The whole country wants.
You can say
except
that,
those corrupt politicians.
In West Virginia, Kamala.
Like, bro, Cenk's rhetoric is great. I don't know how much he even believes what he's saying though. Like he's telling you all these politicians are liars, but it's like, keep in mind this nigga actually tried to run. Obviously, you know, with these like streamers and shit, it's never like it's not an actual run, right? Like I don't think he was actually running, but he ran. He tried to run. Even as like an immigrant. Like I don't even think he was born here. I might be wrong, but he was trying to argue some like crap that technically made him like a US citizen or something. Like I can't remember exactly what it was. Maybe I'll bring it up another time. But he was running when he technically couldn't even run. And then he like took it to court. It's really funny. It's really fucking funny. That's what I say. Like Cenk is very entertaining, but He's always gonna give you like a lot of good rhetoric, but you gotta question yourself, like whether or not he believes what he's saying.
Kamala Harris lost by 30 points, okay? If you put someone that is to the left of Kamala Harris on any economic issue, they're going to lose by that same margin.
You're totally
right?
wrong. Do you know
Really?
what percentage of Americans want to not cut taxes on
I don't really disagree with this guy though. Like I agree. I agree with both of them. I think it's a matter of like degrees, right? But I think somebody farther left than Kamala Harris could have gotten more votes, like way more votes than Kamala Harris, regardless of whether they were more far left than her. At the end of the day, Kamala Harris she wasn't like candidate material. And even just like, let's just say she was like a good politician or whatever, right? Some people think she slept her way to the top, you know, it was, let's just say she was a good politician. She just didn't have any like, you know, I mean, dare I say star power. Like, so it wasn't really a matter of like whether she even had like the chops to be president necessarily. She didn't really have any gravitas. Like, nobody wanted to really like, they had to really force the Kamala Harris support. Nobody wanted to really rally around Kamala Harris. But you could get that from somebody who's more far left and probably get even more votes, especially because, I mean, these politicians know how to package stuff. So they could just settle to something else. But, you know, they've been doing that for years.
the rich, but raise taxes
Probably
on the
all
rich?
of them when you ask it that way.
No. What do you mean? On television, they constantly say, "Oh, cutting taxes is popular. Raising taxes is very unpopular." That's not true. Raising taxes on the rich polls at 76%. You would win West Virginia. You would win Kentucky if you ran on populist campaign. If you said, "Yes, I'm going to raise taxes on the rich. Yes, I'm going to give you lower drug prices. Yes, I'm going to give you higher wages." But the Democrats don't say that. They say, "Oh, I'm going to try a little bit, and then I'm not even going to introduce any of those."
I mean, I would be very hesitant just like running on polls all the time. But like, sure, I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I do think that like when it comes down to it though, like everybody kind of wishes like at some point like they'll be that rich person. Maybe some people are on their way to being that rich person, or they feel like it. And assuming like, you know, these votes really work the way they say they do, and the system is working in order. Some people, you know, they might change their mind when it actually comes to voting on doing stuff like that. Because, I mean, even when they do, you know, a lot of that stuff does tend to turn around and bite them. And they end up footing the bill for more. I mean, but that's because they don't know, like, you know, the average person isn't thinking about like tax loopholes and stuff, I don't think. So like it's not necessarily just that like all these tax cuts are going to the businesses and the corporations. It's just like, I mean, well, first of all, they're businesses and corporations, so they have to think about that stuff, and those people are probably going to be a little bit more savvy at getting what they want. I think that the average person, when they look at it, they're probably just going off emotion. They're not really thinking about it.
That you're seeing it through is the lens that a lot of voters see it through when they're going to vote for people like Joe Manchin, people that will give us a Senate majority. Good
All right, thank you.
Like taxing rich people. He thinks that the majority of Americans would be like, we're good with just taxing rich people more. But like, does it ever actually come out that way? Or is it just like people making a certain amount and that might be like the average American? That's what you tend to see. Like, even when they tell you they're going to tax the rich people more or something, like, you know, they don't really. And they still make out of it with less taxes at the end of the day anyway.
Surrounded is now a podcast, available wherever you listen. Search Surrounded, plug in, and stay part of the conversation. Anywhere, anytime.
Shout out to the Surrounded podcast. I'm grifting off of them right now.
My next claim is Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission.
I mean, see, the problem is I don't think Cenk is going to give us much evidence here. But I'd be willing to believe this.
Hi, Zena, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Zena.
Awesome. So I think that we largely agree, like kind of others have said. I just like want a little clarity on understanding how Democrats like water down their social issues, things like DEI and other measures to kind of bridge the gap that we've seen in like racial disparity, for example. How, in your worldview, do we reconcile such issues?
So in the beginning, did we need affirmative action? Definitely, because what happened before?
She basically agreed with everything. I don't think she really gave any pushback at all. Like, do I need to? This is like third or fourth time seeing this girl on here. She was the one that Jordan Peterson picked out to like talk to at the interviews. She cute. She cute.
Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. It's a marketing ploy, not a mission.
Hi, Zena, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Zena.
Awesome. So I think that we largely agree, like kind of others have said. I just like want a little clarity on understanding how Democrats like water down their social issues, things like DEI and other measures to kind of bridge the gap that we've seen in like racial disparity, for example. How, in your worldview, do we reconcile such issues?
So in the beginning, did we need affirmative action?
That's what I'm saying. She basically agreed with him on everything. She's just like asking a question. So she's not even arguing against his point yet. She's basically just agreeing it.
Definitely, because what happened before the civil rights movement was, so let's say that you're firefighters or you're longshoremen. Those are really good jobs. They pay pretty well. They're good blue collar jobs. What do you want to do? You want to pass it down to your kids because you're normal, right? That's the type of thing that you want to do. But unfortunately, at that point, almost all the jobs are held by white people. So we do affirmative action because, guys, we got to let others in. Otherwise, it's not fair, right? And so that makes sense. But then
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know why he had to throw that in there. Like, I see what he's trying to do, but like, it's just, man, you can tell Cenk is trying to be a politician himself.
over the course of decade after decade after decade, we wind up with DEI. And DEI has some good things in it, but it also had some abuses in it. We covered it on the Young Turks. There'd be situations where a white woman would say, okay, now can I tell you my perspective? And they would say, no, shut up, your job is to learn. No, don't do that, don't do that, okay?
So are you talking about like fringe cases in which...
This is so funny to me right now. Like, I don't know why, like, somehow we ended up talking about race, bro. Of course.
Like someone would say that they feel unfairly treated by DI, because I think in any type of law that we're going to see passed, we're going to see fringe cases in which the law is I guess manipulated in some case to negatively affect certain groups. But I think that we see like largely the effect on the black population is extremely substantial and extremely important. For example, we see that like I think there's a study done, I don't remember if it was 2015 or 2002, but it was a study done where they simulated a class-based DEI program instead of race. What we found was equally qualified black individuals were much less likely to be chosen on this class-based protocol, and we saw that like the protocol actually represented a lot less of the black population that exists in this country, whereas DEI ensures that we have a representative pool of applicants and admitted students in our colleges, which is extremely important.
So look, again, DEI and affirmative action.
Look, man, I can't be mad at her no matter what argument she made. But I also don't think it was, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm like there was technically a lot wrong with what she was saying, but generally speaking, like I didn't really disagree with what she was saying. Her main point there, she's technically not wrong.
Had their role, had their place, and oftentimes
I'm saying that they have a role now.
So, but what it also does at the same time,
I mean,
though, it serves to divide us. And so, look, if you say to me, hey, maybe Muslims have a disadvantage even if you take class into account, so should we give a little bit of extra weight to Muslim candidates? I would say absolutely not.
Why not?
Do not do.
I mean, they
do that, because then what it does is it makes everyone bitter about the Muslim candidates.
Here's the problem.
And it makes them seem like they didn't
what I
earn
find
it,
super important.
when in fact they did earn
So what
it.
you're explaining is the response.
I mean, this is just not something I found I don't find myself worrying about these things on a day to day. Um, I mean, from both of their worldview, this is a good thing off the bat. This is why I said there's like nothing I can really disagree with her with. Like from their perspective, if we're looking at it from their perspective, it's like they're obviously more liberal. Um, they're not necessarily wrong. I mean, she's not necessarily wrong. He's not necessarily wrong. They're kind of basically just arguing about like whether or not certain uh policies that were used in the past really have a place today still. Um, it doesn't really address the point much though. That's why he kind of keeps going back to his rhetoric.
To the policy, and you're not actually digging at the policy in of itself. You're saying because people will come out and be, racist or Islamophobic or whatever it might be because of a policy that is ensuring equality of opportunity, we should cancel the policy. But that is not a critique of the policy. That's a critique of the Republican or usually conservative response to said policy. So do you have a problem with the policy or the response?
So my point here is that this is among the different things that the Democrats do, where they say, "Hey, I think they're being performative." They say, "Oh, we're in favor
of DEI." It might be performative, but the output.
Yeah, Cenk is arguing that they're lying. Like this is just marketing. They don't actually want to fulfill any of their agenda.
Actually, what the thing that would help African American community, Latino community, Muslim community, all those communities is actually raising the minimum wage, lowering drug prices. But we never do the material help. We never do the things that equal things out economically.
You still haven't critiqued the policy in of itself. You're saying people will get angry if we come out and we promote these different metrics of helping
I am critiquing the policy.
So what exactly about the policy is
because it divides us.
How does the policy divide?
Even though it has
by saying that racism exists?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, this is where I mainly disagree with her. Like, I mean, because this is the major problem with all of this stuff. So like, this is like, I guess, if Cenk believes what he's saying, then this would be where he's actually, I guess, more of a populist. But yeah, I mean, you don't need to focus on race. You could just do it for everybody. Like, it doesn't need to be like race specific. Even if that's like your underlying intentions, you don't have to market it like that. So essentially what Cenk is arguing is that, like, yeah, I mean, like, marketing it like that, all it does is divide us, makes it less likely that it's actually going to be one of those things we come to agreement on, because people are being divided on it ultimately for the wrong reasons. Like, I can't really disagree with Cenk here. Like, he's making a good point. I mean, she's technically making a good point here, but she's still, again, like, being extremely, I guess, good faith to the Democratic Party and the particular outcomes that their policies have on specific racial groups. I'm really just not trying to get into all of that. But generally speaking, I mean, they're both making good points for their side. But I ultimately kind of default to agreeing with Cenk. Like, he's not necessarily wrong. Like, I don't think they want to pass most of this shit either.
No, but not by saying that racism exists. So you have to acknowledge reality, right? What you're saying is, now we're going to put black people in this category, we're going to put white people in this category.
Because there are categories that exist now at a subconscious level that we characterize.
So even if you get a benefit from that, you say, hey, I reduced racism by 10%, 20%, etc. What you're doing is you're not noticing the giant downside of that, which is then people start to view each other as black, white,
We've
Asian,
always done that. That's happening unconsciously.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, like, this culture war stuff is a distraction. So he's saying that this stuff is not helping at all. It's just marketing, and they don't even want it to help. It's there for the exact opposite. It's to distract you. Because this is in his first claim, he said Democrats and Republicans agree on most of this stuff. Like, so, like, I mean, when he says their agenda, he's including that stuff, whatever. So they're distracting you with it, but it's also a marketing ploy. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of like it's a little bit of, it could be a contradiction, but I mean, if they're marketing with a distraction, then I mean, like, that is what Cenk is telling you. They're marketing and distracting you. So, hey.
all the time.
You're right, but what I would love is for us to stop doing that.
All of our psychology.
For people to stop looking at me as a Muslim and you as a black person. I want them to look at you as an American and me as an American.
If you want less racism and less racial categorizing, or us to see it as less of an initial categorization, studies show that we need to attack racism and race as a concept like head on. We cannot ignore them or input race neutral policy into place. What we find is that characterizing.
So she's against race neutral policy. I'm in the middle. I mean, I don't think race is a good, I don't think race really should be included, but I'm not necessarily opposed to it being included in certain circumstances. I mean, maybe if we mean ethnicity, maybe not race specifically, but ethnicity, I'm fine with that. That serves a purpose, but other than that, I'm kind of on Cenk's side here. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think that, I mean, if your policy is a good policy, it'll probably be race neutral. If it's a really good policy, it won't matter what color people are. Them following it will give you the outcome you want. I don't think it needs to be centered around anything specific to address it and cover it without it being race specific.
Race, saying what it is, saying what racism is, and thus, confronting ourselves with our biases is what limits them. So no, we can't say, oh, let's stop dividing people with the corrective policy. The corrective policy is helping something that has always existed, that's happening all the time.
So I told you I haven't.
I mean, sure. That's if you grant it it's really still going on and that it's actually having an effect on it. I mean, sure. But I mean, you'd be granting your entire argument at that point. So I mean, hey, I mean, I guess there's some benefits to this stuff, supposedly, beyond the superficial. I'm not convinced, but hey.
Have an issue with the policy itself. I think it divides
you haven't
us.
Explained it, though.
And do the Democrats actually pass their agenda? Even if they agreed with you, did they pass Voting Rights Act? They did not.
The problem is capitulating to right framework, with which I think was what you're doing here when you said the response to DEI is going to be negative. The thing is, when we. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, most of that was kind of off point. Yeah, because I said they're in agreement. So it's not going to be a lot that they're disagreeing on except for little specific stuff and mostly just the broadness of the claims that he has. He's just saying Democrats don't want to pass their agenda at all. So they're going to argue about whether or not any of their agenda they've passed and actually want to pass. I don't really know how they ended up getting on race. This is why I was laughing at the beginning. I thought it was funny that they somehow got to talking about race-specific policies. It's somebody said these are actors, just looking a little bit more believable. It's like they're practicing their parts. They already know what they're going to talk about before they even sit down. Are they even actually arguing about this? Cenk might be involved in what he's complaining about. This could all be a script.
Hey,
Good to meet you.
So Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. I would say they want to pass their agenda. It's just, if you ask 50 Democrats what their agenda is, you get 60 different answers. We've got the environmentalists who hate the labor people.
That's a good answer. I like that answer.
The labor people hate the environmentalists. We have the gay rights lobby. We have racial justice people. We have all different people, immigration activists. Everybody thinks that their issue is the most important one. And I know you don't acknowledge that usually at the beginning of an administration, there's the maximum political capital. And if they don't get something in that time, then they weren't really trying. But what has happened in the past, we saw Biden pass a number of bills in those first 2 years.
That is what they say, supposedly.
The CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, the American Rescue Plan. Obama passed the Affordable Care Act. We passed all kinds of things, but we also all disagree on what the hell the Democrats should do, and that leads to the point where somebody is always frustrated in our coalition because we are not just a big tent, we're a three-ring circus ring. We have such a big tent that's collapsing in on itself. Yeah. So this idea that we don't want...
I mean, Yeah, he said it for us, man. Like, I mean, what do you find at the circus?
Want to pass an agenda? The last point I'll make, because I'm taking up a lot of time, I would just look at the places where Democrats have all the power. Like here in California. California, when you were growing up, I was growing up. I'm actually an 80-year-old man. That's why I got my Mr. Rogers sweater. It was smog here in LA. Like you couldn't see 50 feet in front of your house. We created not just the most powerful environmental regulator in this country. CARB is the most powerful environmental regulator in the world. And that was Democrats that did that. So this idea that when Democrats have power, they don't actually know what to do with it is bogus. We've seen it here in California. We've seen it in New York with free college. We've seen it in many states. So I just don't.
So he's arguing that the Democrats do want to pass their agenda because they essentially do it inside states. Is that what he's arguing? So if I was trying to boil it down, that's what I mostly got.
I don't agree that we don't actually want to do anything.
Okay, so you mentioned about a dozen things there. Let me take two of them as an example. So the CHIPS Act that you mentioned, right? The Democrats told
I can't. They just throwing a lot of policies out there. If I'm gonna be here all day if I pull up every single one of these. Like if they really get caught and stuck on one of them, maybe I'll look it up. But I don't really feel like getting caught up with my Democrat policies right now. I'm not gonna lie.
us when we were covering it live on the Young Turks. Oh, this is such a monumental bill. It's so important. And I was like, okay, nobody's going to vote based on that. So put that aside because that was definitely true, but okay, not pertinent to whether they were trying to do something that the Democratic voters wanted. So that they said that was for national security. Okay, there's some truth to that, right? And they said it was to, don't worry, this is to create more jobs. So now, what did they do? Very typical Democratic bill. They passed over $50 billion in corporate subsidies. The number one recipient was Intel, $8.5 billion in grants and $11 billion in loans. So about $20 billion overall. I said, for God's sake, at least put in guardrails so they can't.
Intel announced it plans to lay off 25,000 employees worldwide by the end of 2025. The company received nearly $820 billion in funds and loans from the CHIPS Act. So like they're about to lay off a bunch of employees. But they received over $820 billion in funds and loans. That is pretty funny.
Can't fire people. They said, oh, don't worry, Intel's going to create
What's going on at Intel?
10,000 jobs. You know what they did? They didn't put in the guardrails, and right afterwards, Intel fired 20,000 people.
That's just weird to mention guardrails against firing people when you rejected a union at your company.
Wait. To be fair, nobody got fired. They got laid off, which is the same as being fired. Because, like, are they ever going to bring you back? Really? That's what you really got to think about, right?
And fired somebody for organizing.
Yeah, that is absolutely not true. You could say that if you like.
That is true. Look it up. There's a union now, but you
could look it up.
Production and post-production crew at the Young Turks voted to unionize in 2020. According to a report in Politico, Cenk Uygur intensely pressured staffers not to unionize. So, I mean, Jubilee's fact-checking. I'm not going to do any more fact-checking on what's going on at the Young Turks, but, like, I mean, supposedly, Cenk is cap.
A bunch of liars, but this is a random thing that you're throwing in there, I guess, to just personally attack me. But there is a union. I'll tell you facts. Do you want to explain facts? So facts are, yes, IATSE.
A complaint was filed with the National Labor Relations Board after a pro-union employee was fired. The case was withdrawn. So it sounded like a pro-union employee got fired from the Young Turks. And Cenk was pressuring them not to unionize, and they wanted to unionize.
Is at Young Turks. It's been at Young Turks for over 5 years.
Did you or did you not reject a card check?
Yeah, I did. And so, in fact, card check, yes, that is the one thing I disagree with in the PRO Act. And yes, you are allowed to disagree with one part of the bill or 5% of a bill, right? And so, in our case,
so
what
we can compromise and have
my
nuance?
personal dealing.
He said, so you can have compromise?
at Young Turks, okay, fine, we can
It's
do
not
it.
personal, it's a public
No,
thing.
no, okay, no problem. Okay, but let me address it. Now you got into a weirdo thing that not about policy, not about the Democrats, but about my company. Fine. So since you smeared me, let's explain. So that people come in and go, okay, surprise, we didn't ask you for anything, but we formed a union. I go, guys, great, prove it. They say, oh, we had a secret vote. And then people come up to me, other employees.
That's what a card check
hold on.
is.
Other employees come up to me and go, they're intimidating us. We didn't ask for this.
We're getting way off base here.
I know,
I hear
because
you.
you brought us off base with a random attack against me.
Cenk said, let's get to the facts, nigga. Since you decided to bring it up, nigga, we're going to get to the facts. He said, my employees was saying it was pressuring them. He said, my employees was being put off guard. He said, they was interrupting my niggas from working. Talking about some damn union. And they were being harassed. So my employees didn't even want this, is what Cenk says. They were complaining about the motherfuckers complaining.
Guardrails. Let me just say one final thing.
Let me finish, because you're not going to smear me and not let me explain, okay? So then I said, since people felt intimidated, it's okay.
You felt intimidated.
No. How do you know? You're not even, you weren't there. You're just making stuff up.
Because you're the one that farted.
Cenk said, look, man, you wasn't there, man. We talking about the facts now. Since you tried to talk some shit, nigga, now we gonna address this.
So hold on.
You're the one that went to the NLRB and had
answer. What the hell is this?
You don't want to
Is this
shift the
some sort
answer.
of
You just
weirdo
want to
ambush?
filibuster.
Okay, let me answer. So then I said, for God's sake, just do a vote. No problem. You get a union the very next day. They did a vote and it passed, and they got a union immediately. Immediately, as soon as I was sure that all of our employees were not being intimidated or bullied, they instantly got a union, and we've had a union for.
So he said they got a union, and they got a union. They got a union now.
5 years. There's people who are like
in response to public pressure,
there are people
but okay.
who are making stuff up 24/7, and they keep telling people.
Oh, so now it was a response to public pressure.
People like you that we rejected a union when we didn't. We authorized it immediately as soon as we had a fair vote. Okay, now back to what you thought was. I thought we were arguing about.
They got that nigga up out of there. Cenk was like, no, nigga, we about to get to the facts here, nigga. You ain't about to just slander my name, nigga.
I'm not really.
Cenk standing on business.
But okay.
Hey, Cenk.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, good. I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous. In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist.
I mean, what is wrong with this nigga's eyes? Sorry, like, he said he sound like a political pickup artist. Is that what he said?
Like, just do this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's no different than what MAGA has.
We've had a union for 5 years. There's
Their faux populism with the deep state. Their faux populism with the deep. Hey,
I just need to hear what he said one
good,
more
good.
time.
I have a lot of respect for you, but I worry about your progressive populism is dangerous. In fact, to me, you kind of sound like a political pickup artist. Like, just do this.
He said a political pickup artist. He's right. I said Cenk's rhetoric is great. Like, he can get people going. He's a somewhat charismatic dude. Like,
this one trick and we can fix it all. And to me, it's no different than what MAGA is doing with their faux populism, with the deep state, with undocumented immigrants. Someone to blame. You're just giving people corporate, corrupt Democrats or corporate media as an excuse. And I think you're just taking advantage of disaffected people.
is this nigga like half Asian or something? Like, I don't know. Like, is it the glint in the glasses? Like, just shit. His eyes, like, his eyes are like tiny, like almost closed. Like, is it just me?
And not showing them, we got to get more involved. We got to invest more. We got to try harder and get good people in there.
So you're saying that don't even try progressive populism.
So he's saying Cenk is creating a boogeyman. He just sounds like a political pickup artist.
Just go along with the establishment Democrats because they know how to win. That's why they beat Donald Trump twice. Oh, right. They lost to Trump twice. They don't know anything. Their number one thing was, oh, we know how to win. They were liars. They didn't know how to win at all. They got clowned by a guy who's not that bright. Now, number two, oh, we have this giant agenda, $15 minimum wage, all the things that we've talked about throughout the day. Oh, golly gee, we just couldn't pass any of it. Oh, wow, okay. But hey, vote for an establishment Democrat.
Golly gee, we couldn't pass any of it.
Don't get tricked by left-wing populism. Brother, do we actually ever try left-wing populism?
Yes.
Here's the three things we've tried. We've tried establishment Democrats.
Did we actually ever try left-wing populism, though? Did we ever try it, though?
Complete failures. We've tried establishment Republicans, complete failures. We tried fake populism under Donald Trump, complete failure.
I disagree.
So the only thing we haven't tried is left-wing populism. And you say, don't try it. Go back to the establishment Democrats. Go back to the donor class. Are you crazy? Let's try the one thing we didn't try. The Bernie Sanders swing, economic populism.
You say the American Rescue Plan that took half the kids in poverty out of it, millions of kids who go to bed hungry, is crumbs, is doing nothing? That is a big deal. What about the millions of people who have health insurance now because of the Affordable Care Act subsidies? No, you can call it whatever you want, but the reality is millions of people have health insurance today because of what the Democrats did when they controlled the House, the Senate, and the White House in 2022 under the Inflation Reduction Act and the American Rescue Plan. I can't stand that you call it crumbs. People don't want their whole lives given to them. They just want a little breathing room like our big President Biden used to say.
So you say you're super happy with the 5 to 10.
I mean, I ain't gonna lie. He kind of guilty of the same shit he accused Cenk of here. He sound like a political pickup artist a little bit right now too.
Percent that the Democrats gave you.
It's not 5 to 10%.
There's two things here. Number one, I don't know what economic class you're in, but the average American is not happy with 5 to 10% change. They want giant change. They want the actual, by the way, the Democratic agenda is great. Our populist plank, the 6 most popular bills in the Democratic agenda, are super popular with independents and even with Republicans. But they never, ever do the most popular bills because they're economic bills. And you say that's good enough. But then why not try the entire agenda? Why not go with an economic populist like Bernie Sanders or Ro Khanna that's going to give you the whole agenda and actually try?
I mean, even assuming that the system would work the way you think it does, do you ever think they're going to try to push their entire agenda at once? And that they're not going to probably change it at some point? Just even if we're just being fair to everybody, like assume they're being honest, assume they actually want this stuff to get done. Like, is it actually feasible if we assume that, there's actually such a divide on these issues to begin with? Again, this is being like extremely good faith. If you're going with the logic that Cenk is, that this is all just like an act, then this could somewhat line up. This makes perfect sense if this is all just a game.
Why give up ahead of time?
Those are great plans, and we should strive for them. But this is a giant country. We're the 3rd largest country in the world. We have a complicated democracy. We have to do things slowly. I know you don't like that. I know you want to get there, boom, boom, boom. But people do not want to abandon what they're used to. It sounds great on paper. Would you like single-payer healthcare where you save trillions of dollars and you pay less? Of course.
You can tell this nigga was practicing this shit in the mirror like fucking 8 Mile. Like this nigga's just too on point right now. Like he's he made sure he like wrote this shit down so he could get his shit off in a couple minutes.
Of course, but then when you show people how we get there, they're scared, they're nervous, and they have a right-wing media machine on overload that is scaring the hell out of people. That's what we're up against. This is reality, man. Welcome to it.
So Martin Luther King called this the tranquilizing drug.
See the nigga in the back? He's like, what is this guy? No, because he's so Cenk. He sound like a political pickup artist. I'm like, nigga, you saw the pot calling the kettle black, nigga? What? Who is this? He looks familiar. He looks like he's an influencer himself. He looks familiar. But I can't get over them eyes, bro. Nigga squinting like a motherfucker. Like, I'm like, he Asian?
Of gradualism. So they tell you, don't worry, we'll do that tiny bit, and then when you elect us again, we'll do another tiny bit, and 200 years later, this will get done.
Millions of kids
let me
not
explain.
going to bed hungry is a tiny bit.
Let me explain in the context of healthcare. They say we're for universal healthcare. You go, okay, great, let's do Medicare for all. Oh, no, wait too long. Okay, no problem. Can we do public option? This debate goes all the way back to the Affordable Care Act. They go, oh yeah, sure, we love the public option. Oh golly, gee, we had to take the public option out. There was nothing we could do. Okay, Obama says he had to take it out because the drug companies were opposed to it. First of all, you're admitting that you're giving into the donor class. Then Joe Biden comes in and goes, how can we do public option? It's over 70%.
We have 50-50 split Senate with guys like Joe Manchin.
Cenk is basically just he's just kind of reiterating the same argument he started with. Like the Democrats, like they can show you that they're not really doing what they say they want to do. And then he just goes a step further with this claim saying that they don't even want to get it done. They're completely in agreement with the Republicans. They don't even want to get it done. It's all a game. It's all an act. I mean, it's a very cynical argument, but I can't say that it's not somewhat accurate. Like what the things he's bringing up, these are all for the most part true, and it's more of how you interpret it. But I mean, technically, it is evidence for his claim. Like he's giving you some level of evidence for his claim that they're in agreement with Republicans and that they don't even want to pass their agendas. It's just like whether or not it's hard evidence or not that they don't want to get this stuff done. That might be like it's a burden of proof that I don't think he's capable of reaching. Like it's just I don't think he could actually do it. So it's gonna end up being like a lot of rhetoric about like, well, look at what they haven't done and look at the chances they had to do it and why didn't they do it? Like, I mean, he's not wrong, but it's also like I can't act like it's not somewhat fallacious.
Manchin and Kirsten Sinema.
You know how you do it, brother? You know how you do it by trying.
Yeah, they try.
No,
they try every day.
No, but literally,
you're
they
not
did.
on the inside.
No,
you don't know.
You're stating a misstatement. Okay, so Joe Biden never introduced the
I mean, he said you're not on the inside. You don't know. I mean, he's technically right.
public option. If you never introduce a public option, by definition, you did not try. Second of all, how do you pass it? Oh, the Senate is split.
I mean, he's technically right there. Like if you never did the basic steps to even get it started, like how we can't say you tried.
Pressure on. So can pressure work politically? Well, we know because Donald Trump did it to Republicans. Now, he did it for his own cause and for his own self-aggrandizement. But anytime a Republican crossed him in the first term, he said, we're going to eliminate Joe Wilson in South Carolina, and boom, he was eliminated. Now, imagine if you did that.
You want to bully our senators?
Yes, I do.
That's
Absolutely.
What you want to do? You want to threaten their lives? What do you want to do to them?
He said, yes, he wants to bully the senators. I mean, hey, you know.
Can I explain?
They represent their people.
That is a populist take.
No,
Joe
they
Manchin
don't.
represents his people. They sent him there. How do you know that?
Okay,
You're not from West Virginia.
Okay, hold on.
Some would argue that it's not. I mean, like, it's like, because then they're going to argue, like, you know, I mean, of course they're going to be controlled if they could be, you know, manipulated any which way by anybody. But it's already like, that's kind of already the case. It's just the anybody is just people with money or enough money to pay.
They represent their donors. So
BS.
Okay.
It's an excuse.
Oh yeah,
it's
I know.
an excuse.
The donors
It's a
are non-existent.
boogeyman.
They're non-existent.
More
millions
people.
of dollars.
No, I mean, they do pretty much represent their donors. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, like, they wouldn't really exist without them niggas. So they got a toe aligned for sure. Some people would argue how much of that matters. Other people would argue it matters a lot, no matter how you slice it.
Dollars given to Joe
More
Manchin. He
people
doesn't care
donated
about
to
that.
Kamala than
You know
outside
that
groups
Joe-
in this election
you know
cycle.
that-
It's a boogeyman, and you're wasting people's time with this.
Nonsense.
Yes.
You know that Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, after they voted against minimum wage increase, went.
I'm assuming, like, what is it? What if I don't know what he's calling the boogeyman? Like, is it the Democratic Party or the Uniparty? I'm assuming he's talking about the Uniparty because that's what Cenk is talking about. Cenk is saying it's a Uniparty, but like at the end of the day, Cenk kind of still wants people to vote for Democrats, so he's not necessarily gonna make the Democrats the boogeyman. But he kind of is, I guess. He was like he's implicating Democrats no matter what. So it's definitely an interesting take from Cenk. But this guy, I don't think he's really like giving much of an argument himself though.
Went to the National Restaurant Association and collected checks. They literally work for their donors. It is super literal. And what you're saying to people is ignore it.
No,
ignore the
that's
donors.
disrespectful
Ignore
to
them.
everybody who sends
It's
money to those
disrespectful
guys.
to Joe Manchin, and I
That's
intend to disrespect Joe Manchin.
disrespect.
He's saying it's a boogeyman because the people are donating more, supposedly.
I despise Joe Manchin. I despise those
But you're
corporate
not from West
Democrats
Virginia.
who never ever deliver for you,
You're not
who
from
never
West
even try to
Virginia.
deliver for you. You
We're
know, here's
lucky
what
to
you
have Joe
say.
Manchin.
Here's what you say.
Cenk is kind of annoying. Like he just talked over him, but I mean the it was just like a battle of rhetoric. The guy wasn't really making much of an argument. Uh, if anything, he was just saying like, this is a boogeyman. And I think like some of your populist views are just you creating a boogeyman. Like that's basically what he said. So you're just kind of creating a boogeyman and that it's detrimental. That was the main argument it seemed like he tried to keep consistently, even though it like got off the rails pretty quick there. But I mean, yeah, like how much do you trust the Democrats? And like, is it creating a boogeyman to tell you to not trust the politicians? The problem is like, he's telling you to not trust the politicians, but he still technically wants you to vote for these politicians. And he's pretty cynical about the system, but also kind of like assumes that the system can function properly or that the system isn't functioning properly. Like I'm not entirely sure what his take is on that, but it's he does have like this kind of ideal where he thinks that it's actually possible for us to like make significant change, which I don't know if I'm like, it's not really, I don't know if this is black pill or not, but like I don't think we have that much say in like what the system is and how it changes and when it changes. So I'm again like I do tend to fall on like Cenk's side of the argument here, but like they also end up very often not arguing the actual like prompt, more of a side conversation.
Hey.
So your claim is that Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. You've talked.
Hold on here.
You're wasting people's time with this.
Nonsense.
Yeah,
They're non-existent.
It's a
Hey.
So your claim is that Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. You've talked about $15 an hour minimum wage. So how can you explain then that Joe Biden did in fact increase to $15 an hour for federal contractors with an increase again this year to $17.75?
Yeah. So again.
So your claim is Democrats don't want to pass their agenda. But look at this thing that Joe Biden passed. I think like I'm gonna boil down their arguments every time, but like that's the gist of what she said. Now there is something that you gotta ask here. It's like when Cenk says Democrats don't want to pass their agenda, does he mean the entire agenda? Because some could argue, you know, that's kind of like the big ask or whatever, right? You know you're not gonna necessarily get it, but you want to ask for the most and then like, you know, make a compromises, you know, in the middle. It's kind of like business, right? I'm assuming though I mean, you could take that to interpret like they don't want to pass any of the agenda at all. Or you could take it as like not all of the agenda is stuff that they actually want to pass. And I would probably be good faith and say like, what Cenk is probably saying there is not that they're all of their policies they don't want to pass. It's just that like they're not being completely honest with you when they lay out that platform for you. Like there's some things that they're probably more willing to compromise on than they would let you believe. So I don't think that pointing out one specific thing that they actually passed, because I mean like even if you're assuming that like what Cenk is saying is true, like you got to be good faith on his side too. Like they could be acting. So they're gonna have to agree on some things to like keep up appearances, right? Like if you're going the conspiracy route.
It's a release valve. So why?
How is that a
Hold
release
on. Yes, because it affects.
Yeah, like you said, it's a release valve, right? His release valve analogy is like basically like, you know, the people are going to get pissed off eventually when they realize that you're not actually passing any of the policies that they supposedly want. So every now and then they have to, you know, open this release valve and make a compromise on something that seems like it's a major breakthrough or whatever, right? I think that's basically what his little analogy means there.
A tiny percentage
It
of
affects
Americans.
300,000 people.
300,000 out of 330 million people. So that's.
Yeah, I mean, was it like 1%? Like I don't, I don't know exactly what it's not. It is a very, it's a very small subset of Americans technically. Whatever she was specifically talking about, at least, right? 300,000 Americans is. I mean, if you're comparing it to like, you know, 350 million or whatever, like, you know, or 330 million, like, I mean,
That's why if you actually did a federal minimum wage, moved it to $15, that would move $92 billion from corporations to the average American. Okay, so that's what we want. I assume you want it. I want it. All Democrats want it.
yeah, he's pretty much correct. We could give him that all Democrats want that, supposedly. I mean, I'm sure there are some that disagree, but like I think the overwhelming majority of Democrats would agree with what he just said. Yeah.
Polls at around 67%. So what I'm saying to all of you guys is, please expect better of your politicians. So when they give you a 3%, oh, hey, look, I did it for 300,000 people. Hey, look, the drug prices, I lowered it on 10 drugs out of 10,000 drugs. Don't say that's good enough.
But
They're
Cenk,
shielding.
you just said
That's a shield so that you don't question them when they say, oh, I'm not going to do it for everyone.
You just said that all Democrats want to raise it to $15 an hour. That has not been your claim this entire time.
No, voters.
Voters,
Yeah.
right. But Democratic politicians do too. If Joe
No, they don't.
Biden didn't want to do it, why did he increase it?
He can't tell you how he knows that they don't, but he can tell you that they don't. So like I'm saying, I don't necessarily disagree with him, but as far as his argument, it's like, I mean, unless your evidence is everything that they just end up passing and the way they seem to act in accordance with the Republicans, I mean, it's technically not a very strong argument. Technically.
But
For
wait a
federal
minute.
contractors,
So then,
he didn't have the votes to pass it.
that's exactly what I'm telling you.
She is aggressive as hell. Is this a redhead? Or is that brown hair? That looks like.
So what he does is he does it for 5% of people with student debt relief. He did it for 10% of people. He didn't do it for 90%. So in the case
why
of the
do
federal
anything
minimum
at
wage,
all?
let me bring it back to you. Federal minimum wage. So he says, oh, progressives, don't worry. It's bare minimum. We're definitely going to do it. So they pass it in the House. They bring it to the Senate. Joe Biden does an interview during the Super Bowl right after he's elected, and he says, oh, we're taking $15 minimum wage out of.
Biden said he didn't think his $15 minimum wage proposal would be approved in a COVID relief package. It was voted down. Republicans passed an amendment prohibiting the increase, stating it would be devastating for small businesses. So, I mean, from what this is saying here, Biden didn't even he didn't even think it was gonna be approved. So this kind of supports Cenk's point here, right? This is the first kind of evidence we've gotten from Cenk's side on how he knows that they don't even want it passed. Now, does Biden saying that he didn't think it would get passed mean that he didn't even want it to? A lot of people would argue that no. He just didn't think it would actually get passed. So you could technically give him a point for that, but it's not necessarily true. It doesn't necessarily mean his argument is true. I mean,
out of the bill.
So,
The Republicans didn't take it out of the bill. Joe Biden took it out of the
Trump
bill.
did. Trump did get rid of it on executive order.
Okay,
so now they don't have it at all.
Right.
So you're saying then that Trump, you're saying that Democrats and Republicans are both equal in terms of economics, right?
She wanted to replace Republicans with Trump, and Trump or Republicans so many times you can just see her like tripping over it.
How is that equal in terms of economics when Joe Biden raised it and then Trump took it away by executive order?
So, but wait a minute. But you're saying that even though he took it out, and then when Bernie put it back in, 8 Democratic senators, including the 2 Delaware senators that are the closest allies of Biden, voted against federal minimum wage being increased to $15. So can you not see that they're literally voting against it? They're literally taking it out of the bill. They're literally tricking you. They don't actually want to pass it. They get your vote by saying, oh, I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then the minute they get in office, they're like, I was just kidding, take it out of the bill.
What evidence do you have that Joe Biden actually did want those senators to vote against it? What evidence?
2 pieces of evidence. Number 1, it passed in the House.
What evidence
and
do
I
you
even
have?
talked to Democratic congressmen. They assured me, don't worry, it's going to pass in the Senate. It goes to the Senate, and it's out of the bill. Schumer made that decision in conjunction with Joe Biden. So why did Schumer and Biden take it out of the bill? That's my evidence.
So, Cenk, is your claim then that
And then secondly, by the way, when they
Wait,
did vote on it, his
wait,
2 biggest allies, both the Delaware.
Why did Schumer, like, all right, your evidence can't be a question. Like, why did they do it? I don't know, nigga. You're supposed to tell us that. Like, that's literally your burden. I'm not. But I told you, like, from the beginning, like, Cenk isn't really gonna give us like much evidence for how he knows that this is what's going on. He's gonna have a lot of rhetoric though.
Senators voted against the $15 minimum wage. That's overwhelming evidence. Do you think that they didn't ask Joe Biden? No, they called Joe Biden, and Joe Biden said vote against it because he was lying.
That's not. It's just not true. But also,
that is literally true, and anybody can look it up.
Are you claiming then that all Democrats that take corporate money are against the people? Is that your claim?
Absolutely,
okay,
yes.
So then, why did TYT take $20 million of corporate
Here
money?
we go again with personal.
This is crazy.
No problem. I want to answer it. No problem. Okay, yeah. So
they be getting at him, bro. Look at my man Cenk though, standing on business. So, like, this is the fact. We about to get to the facts.
$20 million is an investment.
Okay.
It is not here, take the money and then you do what we tell you to do. Everyone has, if you're building a business, you have to take investment to get to the next level.
Cenk,
Hold on, if you don't take the investment, you're going to be tiny. So what some leftists say is, no, don't ever build anything. Don't ever take an investment. Don't ever do anything and build a big business. So instead, let the right wing take not only investment money, but direct money like Dennis Prager did, $23 million, and take it from the fracking billionaires, all those guys, and serve those guys. Let the right wing grow and grow and grow. But
does the left wing tell you not to build any big businesses? I feel like a lot of their major figures are like people with corporations. I mean, I guess they did. It's like they speak against it, but at the same time, they don't have a problem with people aspiring to be rich and wanting to start business. Like, I don't think that the Democrats really promote not starting businesses. They do promote a lot of existing corporations, but I don't think they're against people creating more corporations. I mean, like, even a lot of their social issues are pushed by, like, left-wing corporations. So, like, I think they just kind of want you to do what they want you to do. Like, pretty much anybody.
But as soon as there's a successful left-wing channel, don't take an investment, don't take any money, just be super small so we can't compete with the right wing.
Cenk,
how does that make sense?
I'm pro you taking that investment. I've built a business. I understand that. I just think.
Yeah, no, like, I don't think they're promoting, like, people, like, even start small businesses. I think they're more corporate friendly, major corporation friendly than they are small business friendly. So they're not against, I don't think, people starting corporations.
I think that it's ironic for you then to sit up here and say that everybody that
They might want them to run them a certain way, but they're not mad at people making them or starting them.
takes corporate money is against the people, because then you would be
No,
against
that
the
doesn't make, that's apples and oranges.
Why is it apples and oranges?
I can explain
Okay, please
perfectly.
tell me.
So should corporations be allowed to exist? Absolutely.
Okay.
Should corporations be allowed to give money to our politicians so they control our government? Absolutely not. No way. So when a corporation does an investment, that's a perfectly logical and normal thing to do. When a corporation buys a politician and those politicians then vote with them, that is a terrible thing to do. I'm actually
they're subverting our voting process or whatever. I don't know how these people would say it. It's criminal.
I'm a capitalist. I believe in capitalism, but I believe in democratic capitalism where democracy checks capitalism. Otherwise, it becomes corporatism and becomes a monster. But I don't want to defeat
Democratic capitalism. Okay.
all the companies, and I certainly don't want to defeat left-wing media companies. That makes no sense at all. You see how it's apples and oranges? One is a company and the other one's a politician.
Okay.
One is normal business, the other one is to influence
Sure.
our government.
Let's talk about.
I mean, he's not entirely wrong here. I might disagree with him on like how much of a crime that is. Can probably agree that it doesn't benefit the average person. It's probably not a good thing to have major companies donating more and ultimately getting more sway on the politicians. Not really like, I mean, you could argue that's how the system is supposed to work, but like supposedly, ideally, from the people's point of view, that's not how we want the system to work, right?
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight Arrow News for powering the fact checks in this video. Straight Arrow News is on a mission to raise the bar on journalism in a time of media bias and mistrust. Straight Arrow News helps you quickly find trusted information you need to understand.
The Republicans only care about the rich, and everything else is a mirage.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So the Republicans only care about the rich. Everything else is a mirage. He's got some interesting claims tonight. This is I can't necessarily say I disagree. But I wouldn't necessarily agree with like, I guess like the broader claim. Yeah, I mean, let's put it like this. Oh shit. Stand by for technical difficulties. All right, we are back. Sorry about that. Having some technical difficulties with our camera here. We'll get that back up and running for you here in a sec. All right. Now that we got that squared away, shall we continue?
So personally, I don't like absolutes, so I try to stay away from them. When you say the Republicans are
Oh yeah. So, what I was gonna get to, which this guy perfectly pointed out here, or appropriately pointed out here. I don't like absolutes, and a lot of the claims he's making are like fairly absolute. You can maybe say the first claim wasn't necessarily an absolute claim, but the second one basically was, and this one definitely is. So like he's saying basically like, all the Republicans, all they care about, the only thing they care about is rich people. And everything else is just a mirage to like, I guess, distract you from the fact that they only care about rich people. I can't say I disagree completely. To some degree, I think you could argue, especially because, they're getting all these donations a lot of the time from rich people. They probably care more about what the rich people have to say. I'm not gonna obviously, because it's not just that the rich people are rich, it's also that the rich people have power. And politicians, for whatever reason, are typically gonna be seeking more power. Like that's their the main thing they want. This camera just doesn't want to stay on. But yeah, I'm not sure how much this guy is even really gonna disagree. But I think the reason he started off talking about how he doesn't really like absolutes is him that's him basically saying like, okay, like let's just be as good faith as possible. Like even if you mean like the majority and the main thing they care about is rich people, let's attack that instead of like the overwhelming majority, like, or just every single Republican, and that being the only thing they care about. So he's trying to be good faith. Let's see where this goes.
you talking about the party establishment? Are you talking about the politicians? Are you talking about the citizens?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked that. I always mean the politicians. Okay.
So I kind of assumed we were talking about the politicians at this point. But that's a good distinction to make. No, this guy, so I kind of like this guy already. Just he looks like, your typical white guy. I don't know if he said it already. I actually can't tell if he's Democrat or Republican. He could be either.
Okay, so for all of these, don't take offense if you're a Democrat or a Republican voter. I'm talking about the politicians.
He's probably a Republican, if I'm not mistaken. The way he came up, he gave me Republican vibes.
I'm neither one. But so do you think that the Republicans care more about the rich than the Democrats? Do you think the Democratic establishment really doesn't just care about?
And because obviously the claim is about Republicans, so he's probably going to get up there to defend the Republicans' name.
The rich. So as I said, I think that both parties are similar on economic issues, and they play good cop, bad cop on us. Do the Republicans push the tax cuts? Yes. Is it almost always under Republican administrations? Yes. Do they ever balance the budget? No, never.
So do you think that like the idea that employers who have a lot of money, that they provide jobs and that's a way to give back to the poor, do you buy into any of that concept at all?
No.
I mean, as like entrepreneurs who are going out there innovating, I'm a classroom teacher, so like I go out trying to build entrepreneurs who can employ people and do something like that. Isn't that something that entrepreneurial spirit can be more aligned with the conservatives, would you say?
No, I don't agree. I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah. I run a small business. And so they are always talking about small businesses. And then they immediately change the goalposts to cuts on capital gains. Wait, that has nothing to do with small business. Cuts on estate tax.
Because, I'm pretty sure capital gains do kind of have to do with small business, but
that's for the super rich. That has nothing to do with small businesses. So, brother,
I guess it's debatable.
They use small business as like a marketing tool. Oh, we're for the average.
I'm not gonna act like I'm like super educated when it comes to business and all of these particular like tax codes and all these benefits or whatnot. Like I'm not sure that Cenk is correct about that. Like I think things like that, I think capital gains and things like that affect like all businesses. Even if it's like, I mean, it's probably less of a problem for small businesses, I guess, but like I I have to look at specifically what they're talking about. Like right now, I actually see. Let me double check what capital gains means, because I don't know why he would say it doesn't matter to small businesses. Uh, you know what? This is why I hesitated to say like I disagree with him, because I mean he's kind of correct. Like the profit you make from selling the capital assets, such as a stock, bond, mutual fund, real estate, even collectible, for a higher price than your original purchase price. But I mean, this is also just kind of like a thing uh with any business, right? Your capital gains. Now, if he's talking about whatever specific policy that they actually put into action, and whether or not that really did anything for small businesses, and that's one thing. But I mean, I would say like this still kind of affects all businesses. The only reason I even double checked is because I'm like, well, uh we got to be exact here. Like, does it matter for all businesses? Could it be extremely beneficial for small businesses? I don't necessarily feel like getting into it right now, because capital gains is not something I really think about like that, because I don't have any business for the most part. But I mean, as far as tax laws are concerned, probably is gonna be for more like medium to large size companies. I think probably more of a concern for them. Trying to be generous here.
American, or for a small business, then the actual tax cuts are for the mega rich and for the mega corporations.
What about minimum wage? Like as a business owner,
Yes.
you know like the repercussions of minimum wage. I haven't been to McDonald's in a while. I went. It's been years. I went, and it's just a screen. You know, like there is that element, you know, of the minimum wage raising and that leading to more unemployment.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that either.
Okay.
So first of all, everything it requires bounds. So you can't have a $100 minimum wage. I get that,
Yeah.
right? But having said that, are we anywhere near where we should be on minimum wage? No, we're at $7.25 federally on minimum wage. That is a disaster. And so what that is if you work every single day, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks, no.
So they're not really arguing about like the prompt at all. I don't even know how this would really even be roped in. Because I mean, I guess Republicans negotiate on minimum wage. I'm not sure how many Republicans are really even fans of minimum wage if they believe what they say they believe, though. So I don't know how this has to do with them only caring about the rich and everything else being a mirage, though.
Vacation at all. You only make $15,000 at $7.25. No one can live on $15,000. So when you push up minimum wage, what it does is it pushes up all wages, and that is a good thing, not a bad thing. They always tell you, no, give it to the corporations, and then it'll trickle all over you decades later. No, there's an economics called middle.
They don't necessarily tell you that, but that was also funny. Like, pause, Cenk. It'll trickle all over you years later. That was kind of wild.
Middle out. And what that does is it gives directly to the middle class, and then they spend it more, and it creates a better economy, especially for small businesses like yours and mine, etc. So there's a.
I mean, I disagree with him because like minimum wage kind of hurts small businesses. I mean, because sometimes you can only afford to pay people a certain amount, and then you can start paying them more as you get bigger. But I think that he doesn't believe that, like, you know, most, even especially these big companies, will ever take that money and use it to hire more people at and even like increase wages. He thinks they're just gonna like take the majority of that money and pocket it, which they will for the most part. But like, you know, you really got to look at like how much of a profit they're making, like how much they're getting off in taxes. I mean, it's complicated. I'm not in agreement that like all of these like corporations are just like, you know, fat cats, just like, you know, stuffing their wallet more and more. I think like you'd be surprised how many of these businesses have like a large credit tab like the federal government. Like it's not like all these big businesses are running on like completely green margins. At least not from what I've seen.
It's a way to do this. It gives to the average guy first, but the Republicans never do that. They always push for tax cuts for the richest people in the country.
So do you believe that the populist element of Trump, where a lot of the working class, they're like, I know he's a Yankee with gold toilets, but I'm going to vote for him because he's not like vilifying me. Do you think that they're just being manipulated by Trump?
Yeah, 100%. So look, I don't want people manipulated. That's why I do things like this. I don't want you getting manipulated by the politicians on either side. In a time where we have massive deficits.
He said Trump is just an actor. Said he duping y'all. That's what he said. I would never say that. But that's what he just said. He said your daddy Trump don't love you. That's what he said. I know I'm not the only one that heard that. You know. If you understand English, then you know what he just said.
And a $38 trillion debt. Why are we giving another $1.1 trillion to people making over $500,000? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
I still don't think Cenk has ever managed to like give us much evidence that he knows like or why he knows what these people really care about and what they really want to get past or not. Like a lot of it is just like kind of circumstantial evidence interpreted a certain way. Damn.
I'm allowed.
I love like the thirst competition that is involved with trying to get this seat. Like they really be trying sometimes. Like, and it's actually it's the funniest when like nobody else is really fighting over it. That's when it's the funniest. It's like all of a sudden like they pop off and it's only one nigga running to the table. It's that like you was the only thirsty nigga this time.
Hey Elijah, nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you too. Do Republicans care about the rich? I do think they care about the rich. Coming from somebody that voted for Trump, I do believe that. But I do think that they do support middle-class Americans, especially Trump. I think this big, beautiful bill, people say...
I mean, if they supposedly care about Americans, right? They would have to care about the rich to some degree. To some degree.
It's hurting Americans. If you actually read through it, I'm getting a 3% reduction on my yearly income tax. Every single tax bracket is getting some type of reduction on their income tax or a 0% reduction. And that's for the wealthiest class. So that is helping middle class. Also, I know that the deficit's going up. Think about ICE, you know, he's putting more money into ICE. I would argue that stopping immigration actually, or enforcing it even more heavily, helps the middle class worker in America. There's less jobs that are being taken. When you import a bunch of people, like your housing costs are going to go up. It's inflating the people that need houses in a city, or apartments or whatever. It is taking jobs for middle class to lower class people like me. It's taking jobs.
Unfortunately, some of your premises are wrong. So when you take the whole bill, including the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP and other cuts, the bottom 30%.
I need to. Because I'm confused. What was his argument? Was he arguing against the prompt?
I'm Elijah.
Hey Elijah, nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you.
He said, I agree that they care about the rich. So he's not agreeing completely. But I don't know. I just, like, follow me. We got to see how he got there again.
Do Republicans care about the rich? I do think they care about the rich. Coming from somebody that voted for Trump, I do believe that. But I do think that they do support middle-class Americans, especially Trump. I think this big, beautiful bill, people say it's hurting Americans. If you actually read through it, I'm getting a 3% reduction on my yearly income tax. Every single tax bracket is getting some type of reduction on their income tax or a 0%.
Okay, so he was explaining the big, beautiful bill. That's what he was doing? Okay. I just, like, for some reason, I was just like, how did he start talking about immigration?
Reduction, and that's for the wealthiest class. So that is helping middle class. Also, I know that the deficit's going up. Think about ICE, you know, he's putting more money into ICE. I would argue that stopping...
Probably gonna listen to him. One other person after him on this claim. and then we're gonna probably wrap it up for this one. I can get to part 2 tomorrow. Again, this isn't like if I had to be like really strict on this, we would definitely be here all day. And with Cenk, like, the reason I prefaced it the way I did is because, like, he's probably not going to give us much evidence for like the major claims he's making here. And for the most part, they even seem to be just kind of granting it, like, whatever, right? But they're disagreeing like slightly on like the absolute claims and everything, right? Which is fair. But if we were to really look at Cenk's arguments, most of it is just kind of rhetoric. Look at the Democrats did here. If they really cared, then they're like, it's kind of a no true Scotsman fallacy with a false premise fallacy. It's like he's throwing a lot out there. But he is still nonetheless entertaining. And they're trying to call him out like on the some people called him out on hypocrisy on his own business. And how he acts in relation to the Democrats, and how he supposedly feels as a populist, but like, he's still telling people to vote for Democrats. So, I mean, it's not necessarily a very good argument to argue against his claims. But arguing against like the absolute statements, probably the best they got, because but also like the burden of proof is on him, and because he can't really provide you much evidence, it's just like I think it's the real reason they just end up kind of debating about something else entirely, like a more specific point in between about whether or not this is because they actually tried to compromise, or whether or not it's because they all are sitting scheming and planning together, which is what Cenk's argument would be for the most part. Not to be bad faith or anything, like he is saying it's all an act.
Immigration actually, or enforcing it even more heavily, helps the middle class worker in America.
But this guy is arguing so that, like, he's saying that Trump's big beautiful bill helps rich people, sure, but it also helps like normal Americans and whatnot. And things like this are ways that we can show that they actually do care about every American as well as rich people.
There's less jobs that are being taken. When you import a bunch of people, like, your housing costs are going to go up. It's inflating the people that need houses in a city, or apartments or whatever. It is taking jobs for middle class to lower class people like me. It's taking jobs.
Unfortunately, some of your premises are wrong. So when you take the whole bill, including the cuts to Medicaid and SNAP and other cuts, the bottom 30% actually wind up paying more than they did before.
I mean, that's
so
the people that
they're literally taking from the bottom 30% and giving it to the top 10%.
I mean, but when you talk about,
I'm not sure if that's true. Like, is Jubilee gonna fact check that? He said that the bottom 30% people are paying more after the big beautiful bill. Let's see what the AI bots have to tell us about this. Let's just see what the AI says about Cenk's claim. Wow, my typing is atrocious right now. So they're for some reason they went straight to the Inflation Reduction Act. That's hilarious. So they didn't even like address the fact that I said the big beautiful bill. They're like, we'll just assume that's a typo. A misunderstanding or a typo. But the Inflation Reduction Act, now, that's funny. No, I just asked Google Gemini. I'm not going to ask another one because I really don't actually care. But yeah, supposedly the big beautiful bill, people at the bottom 30% are spending more in taxes or whatever he's saying. I don't know if we can verify that claim.
About SNAP, that's people that are already taking from all of us. So
okay, see, that's your point of view as a Republican. Do you know the least popular part of the bill? The poll just came out. Only 24%, maybe even lower, support cutting SNAP. It is the single most unpopular part of the bill. Overall, Americans do not want you to take from people who desperately need food just to give to people making above $500,000. The second most unpopular part of the bill is the one.
So I guess the reason they're talking about this right now is because this quite literally technically does have to do with the poor people. Yeah, like, I mean, do they care about poor people if they want to keep cutting these government services that are supposed to help the needy? I guess that's one way you could argue it.
One that gives to people above $500,000. So people don't want that. So the bottom 30% are very badly hurt by this bill. What you're talking about is the middle.
So I'm assuming, like, without like verifying the exact numbers, I'm assuming he's saying that the bottom 30% are hurting because of things like reducing SNAP. Okay, fair enough.
The percentile, the middle 10% gets a 0.4% bump.
That is something you could infer.
Again, the nickels and dimes that they throw you.
But that's not in the bill.
Republicans
The bill is to
the
reduce
Republicans
our
throw
taxes.
nickels and dimes at you, 5 to 10% change in their tax cuts, and the Democrats
Listen,
through
if you
their
don't think
policies throw 5 to 10% change
If you don't
at
think
you.
that a nickel and dime can help somebody in a dire situation,
But brother,
yes,
why
that
do we
does
have to help the rich even more? Why do they get the biggest tax cuts?
I mean, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, nowadays, the nickel and dime is like a $5 bill and a dollar bill. Like, sure, like those can help you in the buying. A nickel and a dime ain't doing shit for you, bro. Like, I ain't like not unless you in store, you short on change, and the person behind you hands you a nickel or a dime to meet your change. Like, but you're really struggling at that point. And I don't know if that nickel or a dime really means that way. It's gonna mean a lot in the moment. But in the broader scheme of things, you probably wanted more than a nickel or a dime. I'm just saying.
You know, you could do a tax cut without one going to the rich. You could say, hey, I'm capping it at $400,000.
When you own the business and you get a tax cut, you have more money to spend on your employees. I understand that's a
But they
Reaganomics
don't.
principle, but it could be. And when you're a Democrat and you import all these people from third world countries,
It could be like, so. I mean, he kind of supported Cenk's idea that like the trickle down would happen eventually, or should happen eventually.
you're paying them under minimum.
Which I don't necessarily disagree. I just don't think it happens. I don't think that the Republicans even claim that it happens the way the Democrats say that they do. But it definitely is not something that's going to necessarily happen quickly or necessarily happen. It's like it would happen in theory, and it can happen, especially if you have a smart businessman who knows how to implement it. But is that necessarily? Yeah.
Wage because you see them as the help. Well, yeah, that's gonna benefit you. But when Republicans stop this and they force people to, that work, like to be citizens, or they want people to be citizens, they're being forced to at least earn minimum wage.
The reason why we've never fixed the immigration problem is because corporations want cheaper
I know, and that's awful,
labor,
which is why
and we should
this has
fix that.
helped
But the
us.
Republicans and the Democrats never fix that.
And they have.
so
Our border crossings are
brother,
almost
do
at
you
a
know that the top
0% right now.
the top 0.1% are going to get tens of thousands of dollars in tax breaks?
But
You're not
so
explaining
everyone-
why they need that. They don't need that. Why do you know that oil companies get about $15 to $30 billion in subsidies every year? How come the Republicans never talk about that? Oh, we're going to cut
Okay,
waste, fraud, and abuse, but you're not going to cut $30 billion for the richest company.
All right. I mean, like, again, like, even if this is the result, I mean, like, technically, it doesn't mean that they don't care about the small businesses or whatever. Like, it could just be affecting all of them. But, like, he's talking about stuff that is affecting particular people when it comes to particular programs. And then we're kind of moving back and forth here between, like, private and public sector things. I would like for them to kind of stick on like one specific thing, but like they don't really have enough time to do that.
That's going to benefit you. But when Republicans stop this and they force.
And we're probably gonna wrap up after this because I having some serious technical difficulties here with this camera. So I think we've gotten enough in today. We'll be wrapping it up right after this.
Force people to, that work, like to be citizens, or they want people to be citizens, they're being forced to at least earn minimum wage.
The reason why we've never fixed the immigration problem is because corporations want cheaper
I know, and that's awful,
labor.
and which is why
and we should
this has
fix that, but the
helped us.
Republicans and the Democrats never fix that.
And
so
our border crossings are
brother,
almost at
you know
a
that
0% right now.
the top 0.1% are going to get tens of thousands of dollars in tax breaks.
But
You're not explaining
everyone-
why they need that. They don't need that. Why do you know that oil companies get about $15 to $30 billion in subsidies every year? How come the Republicans never talk about that? Oh, we're going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse, but you're not going to cut $30 billion for the richest companies in the world?
If you help
How
people
come
at the
Trump's
top,
not
it's not
negotiating
hurting
drug
people at the
prices?
bottom.
How come Trump is best friends with Big Pharma and he's not touching drug prices
Yes,
at
he
all?
is. He's
Not at all.
matching them to Europe. Yes,
No,
he's got
that's an
policies
example.
coming
Okay,
in.
now that's a perfect example. He said that as an executive order, knowing that he did the same.
Has Trump been lowering drug prices? Has he been making moves to lower drug prices? Says yes. I mean, the Google demons are saying yes. The administration has been actively working on policies aimed at lowering prescription drug prices. A key focus of these efforts is the most favored nation drug pricing plan. So I think tying them to the lowest paid prices for drugs in other developed countries. Yeah, so what this guy was just saying is that he's matching their prices in other countries that have it at cheaper prices. So he's developing basically a standard for which you can kind of determine how much you should be charging for this. So Trump is he is doing that. So I mean, points for this guy.
Same executive order in the first time around, and the courts knocked it down. He knows the
So
courts
it's
are
not
going to do
his
it.
fault,
So,
it's
no,
the
it is
courts.
his fault.
He is
Because
trying to
hold
make
on,
it easier
let me
for
explain.
us.
Let me explain to you. So then, what Ro Khanna did, he's a Democrat. He's really smart. He went and got a Republican co-sponsor and said, "Let's take the executive order and turn it into a bill, verbatim, Trump's executive order." All of a sudden, Trump and the Republicans not.
Bipartisan bills requiring drug companies to charge Americans what they charge other companies or other countries have been introduced in both chambers of Congress this year, but have not been approved. Thank you for stumbling through that with me. But yeah, so it's saying that they're definitely working on something like that, and it's bipartisan, so it's not even just Trump. But it hasn't been approved yet. So it's this could be an example of how they're acting supposedly as far as Cenk is concerned. Giving you the marketing, even though it's not necessarily the Democrats are talking about. Giving you the marketing, but also lying to you at the same time. They don't actually want to get any of that done. They're really in agreement with the other side. They already know what they want to compromise on.
Not in favor of the bill. Oh, there you go. It was a trick all along.
Was that the end of it? I thought they would go back and forth a little bit longer. So we got almost an hour in. Is this one longer than the other ones? I feel like the other ones were about the same length, but this one just feels longer. I thought this one would be a little bit more entertaining. I mean, it's definitely entertaining, but I thought it'd be more entertaining. I might have enjoyed Mehdi's a little better than this. But it could get better. I mean, the problem is a lot of the claims he's making, they're kind of agreeing with a lot of it. So there's not very heated debate here. These motherfuckers are agreeing and shit. Like, they supposed to be at each other's throats. Come on, Jubilee. Don't stop acting like y'all trying to have actual conversations. Come on now. But I think we're gonna wind it down for now. We're gonna pick up from here. Probably tomorrow. I'm trying to knock this out. But I'm forcing myself to do this one. This is the grift right now. This is the easiest one for me to do. Because these are kind of fun to watch. Rather than just like 1 hour long debate with one person debating another person. It is interesting to see, like, you know, somebody supposedly debating multiple people from another side. Like, it's kind of like it's kind of speed debating, like, you know, whatever. So it's interesting to see how quickly these people can make their points and whether they can make a good point at all. A lot of the time they just end up agreeing. So they end up arguing on like some side tangent or what do you mean by this specific word? And it's like they need to have a little bit more contentious debates for me. But other than that, it's not bad. All right. Well, thank you for joining me for another logical analysis. A lot of technical difficulties today, folks. Sorry about that. We'll try to get that fixed up for you. But until next time, I bid you adieu.